9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour. We have an update to a story we shared with you yesterday afternoon. Utah County Commissioners have officially voted to adopt an information sharing agreement with ICE. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
The county commissioners voted unanimously to adopt the agreement, which will allow local law enforcement to share information with ICE despite hours of pleas from hundreds of locals asking them not to. Though the county sheriff clarified this will not open the door for ICE to do local raids. They will focus on sharing information specifically for undocumented people already in police custody.
Utah County is the 6th county in the state to do something like this. More seniors than ever are renting homes rather than buying. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla.
The number of retirees renting homes across the U.S. has seen a 2.4 million increase in the past decade. That's about a 30% increase. But here in Salt Lake City, we've seen a 51% increase. Point Two Homes reports there are multiple things to consider when looking at this data. Homes are getting more expensive to build, mortgage rates are getting higher, and the overall population is getting older.
Those age 65 and up now make up about 8% of renters in the state. Two locals have been named to USA Basketball's 3x3 Team DC roster. Former BYU guard Trevin Knell and Lone Peak High School star Frank Jackson have been named to Team DC. They play their first games this Saturday against Spain and Lithuania's teams. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 73 points, a little shy of 0.2%. We're at 44,317. Coming up, smoky and hot. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Amanda, we love talking about Utah Community Credit Union, and guess what? They just got news that they saved their members over $40 million in 2024 alone.
And UCCU is opening 4 new branches in the Salt Lake Valley, which means 6 total now. They have 21st South, Taylorsville, Sandy, Magna, Harriman, and Draper.
And to celebrate these new branches, UCCU is offering some amazing opportunities. First of all, $150 cash just for setting up direct deposit with your UCCU account.
They'll give you up to $250 cash just for transferring any existing loan from another institution to UCCU.
And here's the big one, giving away 10 amazing prizes, including, get this, a brand new 2025 Jeep Wrangler.
So you heard that right. A brand new Jeep Wrangler could be yours, and no purchase is necessary. You don't even have to be a member.
Anyone can enter. It's easy. All you've got to do is go to uccu.com and sign up. So enter to win today.
UCCU.com. Find out more about Utah Community Credit Union, where you're going to love where you bank.
You're not at your house. You're at a lavish seaside estate. You're not walking the dog. You're hunting for clues in an Agatha Christie mystery. See it differently with BritBox. Stream an endlessly entertaining collection of British TV, including new original series, Ludwig, starring David Mitchell.
Bit awkward, really. I think I might just have solved a murder.
And Outrageous, a scandalous true story.
Seems there's a political extremist in every family these days.
See it differently when you stream the best of British TV with BritBox.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want you to know that it's the little things that count. Any remodeler can say they treat customers right when it comes to siding, gutters, windows, and exteriors. It's hard to know for sure. If a contractor uses cheap generic nails instead of super grippy ridge shaft nails for your siding, would you even know? If they use cheap $4 caulk to install your new windows instead of paying $9 a tube for the good stuff, could you tell by looking? It all comes down to the details and trust. At RGS Exteriors, we only do things one way, the right way. We never cut corners. We never skimp on details. We never do less than the job requires. That's why we offer our industry's exclusive 10-year everything guarantee. And it's why we have the happiest customers. If you need any gutters, siding, or replacement windows, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online at rgsutah.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. And here's Len Thomas.
Making your way on the freeways this morning, showing a good flow with slowing that's improving in Utah County from 2100 north to just past SR 92. This on northbound I-15, of course. And then a tight spot in Bluffdale and the South Interchange, and again from 33rd South to the Spaghetti Bowl. Also, we've got a spot of slowing on the South Belt. This is eastbound from I-15 to State Street. Are you a medical practice owner? Join the Hamlin Business Institute's powerful class August 1st in Salt Lake City. Boost profits, reduce stress, and grow your business. Register by July 20 for 40% off. Use code BUSINESS. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
Smoke from Utah wildfires, as well as in Nevada and California, is hanging out in northern Utah valleys. Expect highs in the mid-90s through the weekend with a possible thunderstorm tomorrow. Lows right around 70 degrees. Right now it's 81. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
On this show yesterday, we spoke about a rescission bill that was before the U.S. Senate, and breaking overnight, the Senate passed the rescission bill that would cancel about $9 billion worth of previously allocated funds toward both foreign aid and public broadcasting.
So we're actually really lucky to have on the line with us Utah Senator John Curtis, who stayed up very late to vote for that bill. Welcome, Senator.
Hi, good morning. Yes, it was late.
We're so happy to have you talk to us today. I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about the final vote, and then I'd like to ask you a little bit about the specifics on what's being cut back.
Sure. As you mentioned, they do things interestingly here in the Senate, and this is my fourth or fifth of last track of overnight votes. But we get it done, and I think it's important that we get it done. This is, in the end of the day, 0.1% of our overall budget, so it's really nothing to brag about. But I do think it's an indication to the American people, and perhaps more importantly, the people in Utah, that we're taking this debt seriously.
I have a question for you specifically about the foreign aid part. So sure. I know we've talked about PEPFAR on our show, and we know that was pulled out of this package. But I wonder if you could speak to the foreign aid cuts and the implications potentially on soft power for the United States.
Yeah. So I think it's a little bit of a misdirection, and I'll tell you why. We do a lot of great things overseas, and as I've traveled in the House of Representatives, I've seen some of these programs. But almost without exception, I've taken to a place and shown a program where we're helping people read better, or we're helping, some noble cause. But we've been doing it in the same program for 20 years, and nobody has reevaluated it. And it's making almost no impact on that soft power that you're talking about. And I think what you're really seeing is not necessarily a pulling back, a commitment to soft power, but a realization that, every dollar we spend, we should think through and be more careful about. That's what we do in Utah, and I think we should be doing that overseas. And I think what we'll find is we can spend the same or perhaps even less dollars for a far more dramatic impact.
Senator, we're talking about what we've called a rescission bill, meaning that these are previously allocated funds. What happened in the interim that caused you and others to decide to revisit this issue?
Well, I think the reality of it is, for impact, what I just said is we all know that if you don't revisit your commitments to spending, it can go off track. And I'm not talking about it for over a year. I'm talking about over decades where we just continually spent money over and over, thinking that just because we're spending it, we're going to have a good outcome. And, I'll come back to this is 1/10 of 1% of our overall budget. And it's still a tiny fraction of our spending overseas. And it's just the beginning, I think, of a reevaluation of we can do things better. I think most Americans would want us to prioritize these dollars to life-saving causes. That's why the PEPFAR was pulled out. And, I think it's a good time to question, can we do better? Absolutely we can. I think everybody knows that.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to pivot a little bit to one of the issues that you have been working on for a little bit, and that is our Fix Our Forests Act that you have introduced.
Yes.
I just want to set the stage with a little bit of data. So we know in Utah right now, we have something like just under 84,000 acres that have burned this fire season so far. We're not through. Last year, we had just under 91,000, so we are definitely on track to pass that this year. It's been a huge topic of conversation. Of course, it's very dry right now. Tell us about your bill and where we are in that process.
Yeah, and first of all, to your point, I downloaded this app that shows me what forest fires are in Utah, and it looks like the whole state is on fire. And this bill is so timely. And by the way, it's a really good bill. It has two Republicans, two Democrats in the Senate as co-sponsors. It's been through the House, so it's a bipartisan bill, and it's a total top-to-bottom relook at how we're managing our forests. It looks at how we predict wildfires. It looks at how we manage our forests. It looks how agencies talk together. It is really a good bill, and because it's bipartisan, we're going to get it across the finish line, and it couldn't come at a more important time for Utah and for the West.
Where does the bill sit right now, Senator?
So it's it passed the House, but we've made a number of changes, so it will have to go back to the House. But it's in the Ag Committee, and they've had a hearing on it, and it's scheduled. I talked to the chairman just last night. We had a little extra time, as you know, sitting on the Senate floor, and I talked to him about it. He's got it scheduled for markup as soon as we get back from the August break, and I think everybody is really positive that we can get this bill into law.
So let me just ask you a couple of other questions. So if this bill passes into law, like, say, September, when will states maybe see the ability to implement some of these measures that will make it easier for them to fight these fires?
Sure. So the moment it passes, the answer is immediately for some of the provisions. So for instance, policies related to litigation, that'll be instantaneous. As far as like there's provisions for increasing innovation in the way we fight forest fires. That's going to develop over a number of years. There's some really groundbreaking consensus from Republicans and Democrats on how we manage our forests. So we're immediately going into action. And this is a big deal because it's a forerunner for other things that we do that we found consensus on these things that have been difficult to find consensus on.
We're speaking to Utah Senator John Curtis, especially as it relates to this forest bill. And Senator, first of all, thank you for being here. It's incredibly kind of you to always participate in this show. But how specifically with respect to Utah and what's happening here, talk to us about how this bill could affect Utah forests.
Well, I'll give you one example. I think when we see a forest fire in Utah, everybody knows right off we have not managed the forest well. The fuel on the floor, and it's just been poorly managed, which exasperates these fires. So that's one immediate impact to Utah is we'll better manage the forest. A second one is I think it's almost a constant theme that agencies are not talking to each other when we have these forest fires in Utah, and this takes a big swing at fixing that, getting out of our silos and getting one approach. So immediately Utahns will see a difference in how we respond to these. And really, I mean, this is for Utah. I had this Utah totally in mind when we did this bill. This is a really important bill for Utah and for our forest fire situation.
I have a question about funding. Does this come with a fiscal note?
It does not. No. So imagine that. We're going to do all this good.
That's awesome. Thank you. We have another question for you, and it just is one of the news stories that has legs recently, and it has to do with the Epstein files. So, do you have an opinion on that?
Up, Holly, I can't hear you.
Do you have an opinion on that? Come on, what's up?
I sure do. I like this is a perfect example of we get in trouble when we're not transparent, and I don't care if it's the Epstein files or when the mayor of Provo, right? Or does that make sense? Like any layer of government, when you're not transparent, people have the right to be grumpy, and I don't blame people for being grumpy because not only does it feel like there's something there that's not being shared, but comments like, I've got these files on my desk, and then we don't have them on our desk, right? No wonder the American people are suspicious and upset, and I think they have a total right to. And I think we should always push for transparency as deeply as we can. And whether it's the Epstein files, really, or like I say, city councils, all across the board, transparency solves so many of these problems.
Thank you so much for joining us, Senator Curtis.
It's
been a pleasure.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
All right, best to both of you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So we're going to stay on the Epstein files.
Yeah, we
actually.
can't. We've got to stay on this. When we come back after the break, it won't go away, and it won't on this show either. We'll bring that right back.
You probably saved my life.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight and keep it off.
I was 30 pounds overweight, and I went in, and the doctor said, you need to change your diet.
Get help and get started with Soda Weight Loss.
Got off my blood pressure medicine and my cholesterol medicine, and that is amazing to me.
I went from a 16, 18 down to a size 4 now. So that is amazing. It makes you feel so good.
Splash into summer savings right now with Soda's lowest prices of the year.
No injections, no pills, no hunger.
I would recommend Soda because it's sustainable. This is lifetime change.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal.
We're the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and results. And with our incredible summer savings, what are you waiting for?
Get help, get results at SodaWeightLoss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
I'm Utah Tax Attorney Jordan Wilcox. Listen to what actual clients have had to say about working with us.
I'm Paul. I'm a contractor. I had a tax problem that was pretty significant. Needed some help with the IRS. I had prepared my taxes for a few years, but when I went to file them, I didn't have any money to pay those taxes. And so I just filed the returns in my drawer and went about my business. And about 3 years went by when I did that, and pretty soon I owed $102,000. And I met with Jordan, and we talked about the hole I dug myself into. And from start to finish, the process was encouraging, supportive, saved me about $80,000, $102,000 to $22,000. No complaints.
Hi, I'm Jordan Wilcox. You need a tax attorney that's not afraid to fight for you. Schedule your free consultation today. Visit endtaxworry.com.
The relief is immeasurable.
Don't wait. End your nightmare. Your relief starts at endtaxworry.com.
Andy, my husband and I had Bedrock Quartz redo 3 bathrooms for us, 2 in the old house and 1 in the new house. And I loved working with them for so many reasons. One of which is that they're like a 4-generation family-owned business here in Utah that has been installing countertops and making beautiful kitchens and bathrooms for years and years.
Well, at my house, I suffer from what's called paralysis of choice. When you've got something as wide-ranging with the different types of counters that they offer with quartz, quartzite, like I didn't even know what the difference between those things are. I'm going to need that kind of help when I go through the process.
Oh, they have wonderful designers. Plus, when you go in their showrooms, it's super easy. At station number 1, you select your color and your material. Then you go to station number 2. And you pick out your backsplash, and then you go to number 3, and you select your faucets. It's so easy to do.
They've got what's called employee pricing for everyone. This is the first time they've ever offered this.
For the month of July through August, everyone gets the friends and family discount.
They've got 9 locations near you from Layton to St. George, including a new one in Salt Lake City. BedrockQuartz.com. That's BedrockQuartz.com.
Hi, I'm Ty Detmer. We buy our jewelry from Sierra West Jewelers because of the great service, large selection, the diamond education, and the lowest prices. Sierra West Jewelers offers a VIP service package that my wife and I love. The VIP package includes free lifetime warranty, 50% off men's band with purchase of engagement ring, a free electric ring cleaner, a free $50 gift card to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, plus 14 other free services. Buy at Sierra West Jewelers. I promise you'll never regret it.
Hello, this is Tim Branscombe, founder and president of Sierra West Jewelers. If you're looking for that special gift or if you need it custom made, come to Sierra West Jewelers, where we have the largest selections of rubies, sapphires, and emeralds, diamond earrings, bracelets, and pendants. Only at Sierra West Jewelers in our quality and our VIP service. Sierra West Jewelers across from the mall in Sandy, Orem, and Murray, or at SierraWestJewelers.com.
With Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, you can easily find the right home insurance for you, even if it's not with Progressive. But if you don't choose us, then sure, okay, it's not going to work out. We're not going to cry about it or stay awake wondering what our future together would have looked like. We can't get emotionally invested, even if it sounds like we are. Progressive's Home Quote Explorer allows you to easily compare home insurance rates and coverages in one place, even if it's not with us. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. I love you. I shouldn't have said that.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Hospitals urgently need you today. Summer accidents happen from hiking, boating, blading, and boarding. Fortunately, ARUP's always there. Help someone in need by visiting utahblood.org.
The new Inside Sources.
We had a really interesting conversation with the Utah Senator Curtis in our last segment, and we left that, Holly, with him talking about the Epstein files, and it was funny. I mean, and he's such a charming man, but he started out with, "Hey, I don't know if I can hear you guys very well." When
Your
he got down there,
breaking up.
but then he got to the guts of it and talked about transparency.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I am a big fan of too, transparency. And one of the things that Senator Curtis pointed out is whether that's transparency from the city council all the way up to these files, right, the Epstein files. And we talked about this yesterday a little bit, how this issue is now splitting Trump's base. And there are people who are just really, really upset, but now Trump himself is really upset. And there's a lot of tension between him and his supporters now.
Yeah, this is ABC's Perry Ransom.
President Trump lashing out at members of his own party.
They're stupid people. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats and some stupid Republicans.
Last week, a memo from the DOJ and FBI concluded that a so-called client list did not exist and confirmed Epstein died by suicide in 2019. Trump yesterday defending the leaders of the agencies behind that memo, FBI Director Kash Patel and Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Do you still have confidence in that team, sir?
Total.
Asked about the possibility of appointing a special counsel to investigate the Epstein case, Trump saying this.
I have nothing to do with it.
Some Democrats argue the president who engaged socially with Epstein in the 90s and early 2000s is acting suspiciously. One congressman telling Vanity Fair, it seems like he's trying to cover up for something or somebody. At the same time, Republicans argue there must be more transparency.
I think that this government holds on to so many secrets that are unnecessary, and I think that look, the public wants answers on this. I mean, this was a campaign issue.
House Speaker Mike Johnson insisting he's on the same page as Trump.
I mean, there are, whistleblowers and minors' names involved. You got to be careful not to release that.
Johnson also saying Americans deserve more information.
We're for transparency. You need to have all of the credible information.
Overnight, former Vice President Mike Pence calling for the files to be released.
I know of no reason why this administration, once the victims' names are protected, should not release all the files on Jeffrey Epstein.
And now one of the most influential voices in the MAGA movement saying the public should know more.
It's been 10 days since you've leaked this thing on the holiday weekend, and you still have not done a straight-to-camera, straight-to-the-sticks press conference. Here's what we looked for. Here's what actually existed. Here's why we reached the conclusion that we did.
And new polling shows the majority of Americans are not happy with the government's handling of the Epstein files. Just 17% of people approving. 2/3 of those polled say they think the government is covering up evidence.
And we'd like to hear from you as well. Text us, should the Epstein files be released? We'll give the results before the end of the show today. Why or why not? Text us 57500. Should they be released? Should they not be? Or should we just move on? Those are your 3 votes.
Yeah. So it's interesting. We mentioned Senator Curtis, but Senator Mike Lee also has weighed in on Epstein. And in 2024, he tweeted from his Based Mike Lee account, "Can anyone explain why it's taken so long for the Epstein client list to be released? It's been more than 4 years since Epstein didn't kill himself. these records are not classified. Why weren't they released years ago? But then again, just recently in this month in July, he's staying consistent, and he says if Jeffrey Epstein had over 1,000 victims, there could be thousands of people who could name at least some of his accomplices. I don't understand why more info isn't being released, and I'm trying to get answers. But then he says, but perhaps there are other ways of piecing this puzzle together.
Yeah, and I don't know what those would be, but this Epstein case, Holly, is really interesting on so many levels, not the least of which was that he dies in jail awaiting trial under circumstances that were classified as, at the time, as suicide.
Right.
And even Mike Leese, it's been more than 4 years since Epstein didn't kill himself. I mean, talk about a conspiracy, talk about who knows what happened there. And that doesn't even get to the point of these files themselves.
Right.
I mean, he's awaiting trial. His paramour, his girlfriend, has been convicted. She's sitting in a prison, and her attorneys are going, hey, wait a minute. Maybe we ought to revisit her case as well. And he dies in jail, waiting trial, suspicious circumstances. And that's sort of one cover. But then we've got the files themselves. Do we release them? Do we not? And what's the holdup?
Well, and remember, right, there were a lot of promises that the files would be released. Of course, it was a campaign promise from then candidate Trump when he was on the campaign trail. And remember, there were 3 sets of files at least that they were going to release. Everything we knew about the JFK assassination, everything we knew about Martin Luther King Jr. and his assassination, and everything we knew about Jeffrey Epstein, right? Those were the 3 things that were going to for sure be released. Well, we have 2 out of the 3, but now the administration is saying, well, there's nothing to see here. Just move on.
What's that song by Meatloaf? 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, it reminded me of that. And Trump is saying, and he's sort of weighing in on his own Attorney General, Pam Bondi, saying it's her decision. And she is so far, for whatever reason, and I think we can guess, is saying, I'm not releasing those at this time. So Trump is leaning on that, saying, when she wants to release them, she can.
Yeah.
Of course, he could tell her to tomorrow.
I did see something that she said there was evidence of child pornography in the files. She's not denying that there are 0 files, just that they can't be released. But what they have said is there's no client list to be released. But she said, well, we can't release because there's disturbing stuff in there. Well, you can redact. Right, that's what you just black stuff out. You maybe like you're not going to show the pornographic videos, and you're not going to show the names of the victims. But we already have victims who have outed themselves, right? Who have gone public and said, "Look, I am one of those young women who was trafficked as a minor." Right, this is my experience. This is my case, and so you have now this split, right, where you've got people who are saying, "Hey, you promised us this information." What I'm seeing in the polling that's interesting. So 69% think the government is concealing facts.
Yeah, and with respect to the problematic information, I mean, it's no surprise I've done a number of cases involving images that are inappropriate.
Sure.
And we get what's called discovery, which means you get the government's case. It's called an open file policy. Come and get it. They'll send it to you. We don't get the images, but we don't need the images. They can give you a one-line explanation.
Right.
This involves this particular conduct.
Right.
This involves this particular conduct. Excuse me. and we get those. So that's kind of a weak excuse by Bondi, who is a prosecuting attorney. They give us that information every single day on these kind of cases, and you can redact it, like you said. That particular information, you redact the victim's name and their photograph, and you don't need to see the images to know what happened.
Yeah, sure.
The question isn't that are they there.
Right.
The question is who's involved in it.
Right. And that's, again, if you're listening and you have an opinion on this, you can weigh in. Text us at 57500 should these files be released.
Yeah, I think at some point they're going to be. Who knows how much they've already been redacted. There's got to be a clean copy somewhere. But what scares, I think, a lot of people, we're seeing the Kennedy files, 40 years, 50 years after the fact.
Right.
Martin Luther King, so many years. There were things, this information is going to come out. And the more the administration says, I don't want it to come out, the more they kick and scream and fight, the more the public thinks they're entitled to it.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't serve anybody. Just having practiced law, and when I have clients who say, don't let the information out, then everybody wants to see it, even if it wasn't even that interesting, even if it's not all that damaging.
That's exactly
right.
That's human nature.
Right. Let's get it out.
You know, one of the things that's interesting is in politics, and I don't know if this applies in other areas actually, but there are times when stories have legs, right? So sometimes you'll get these things that come up in the news cycle and they just don't catch hold, right? And you just move on to the next thing. We've had a lot of churn in the news cycle, but this story has legs. And this is impacting President Trump, and he's starting to get pretty annoyed about it.
Yeah, and we have a Utah story involving a death row inmate that is a 40-year-old homicide case, death row homicide case, currently scheduled for a firing squad on September 5th. Now this is Ralph Menzies, is asking for clemency. We'll talk about what that means, what he's asking for, and why after this.
It's 9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour, Utah leaders are making a big push to build more new homes in the state. Now a new study shows we're putting our money where our mouth is.
Utah ranked 4th in the nation for the number of new homes built last year, behind only Idaho, North Carolina, and South Carolina, according to a new study from Construction Coverage. The study also broke down where a lot of these new homes are popping up in the state. Provo-Orem, Lehigh, St. George, Salt Lake City, Murray, and the Logan areas all cracked the top 20 for new homes built in their respective market sizes. Though despite Utah's great ranking, we're actually building a lot less homes than we were coming out of the pandemic. Last year, we actually built about 25% fewer homes than we did in 2022. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
A man is facing murder charges after investigators say he killed someone with a bow and arrow. The Uinta County Sheriff's Office says it happened in the White Rocks community where they got a call about a possible accident. They found a man inside a car with an arrow piercing him through the neck. Court documents say officers found surveillance footage of Leroy Casper Puigup Reed shooting the bow and a sheath of arrows in his home matching the one used in the murder. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A lightning strike at an archery camp in New Jersey killed an instructor.
One man is dead and more than a dozen others injured, including 8 children, after they were struck by lightning at a New Jersey archery camp. The strike killing 61-year-old instructor Robert Montgomery. This is the 12th lightning fatality just this year and the second death in New Jersey from lightning this week.
That's ABC's Megan Norwood reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 141. Right now we're at 44,396. Coming up, sunscreen, umbrellas, and maybe some breathing masks required. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hey, this is Dan the Laptop Man from PC Laptops. Myth. You might have heard that you need to spend a fortune these days to get a powerful computer. Correction. At PC Laptops, we wanted to prove that wrong. So here's the most amazing deal that we've ever done at PC Laptops for you in over 30 years. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Take one home today. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
Progressive knows when you're on your boat, you're already on vacation. And Vacation You forgets all your worries. Vacation You doesn't even keep track of time and knows that time is a meaningless construct designed to control us, man. But Regular You knows you don't want to be too far out in the water after the sun goes down because Vacation You doesn't know how to navigate in the dark yet. Vacation You and Regular You really need to get on the same page. So bundle your boat with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, Prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Serving in the military requires great sacrifices, not just for one's country, but also for one's family. Not surprisingly, divorce for soldiers is especially difficult, and it raises a number of challenges that are peculiar to military divorce, things such as deployments, relocation, retirement benefits. These issues can be complicated, and the lawyer you choose needs to be equipped to handle them. So if you're a soldier facing such challenges, go to CordellCordell.com.
Ever wonder what goes on behind the scenes of one of the longest-running broadcasts in history? Discover the people, the stories, and the inspiration behind music and the spoken word in the brand new podcast, Behind the Scenes with Music and the Spoken Word. Join host Derek Porter for a heartfelt journey into the passion, preparation, and purpose behind this beloved weekly broadcast. Listen now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Behind the Scenes with Music and the Spoken Word. Inspiration you'll feel, stories you'll never forget.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. And here's Heather Kelly.
We still have some slowing on northbound I-15 between 53rd South and Murray and the Spaghetti Bowl. That's where I-80 and the 201 freeway meet up with I-15. It's due to a crash blocking the HOV lane and left shoulder right underneath some of those flyover ramps at the Spaghetti Bowl. So that's what's keeping traffic at a crawl. Everybody else moving along pretty well, even though we have some other accidents like the exit ramp from northbound I-15 to go onto 600 South in downtown Salt Lake. That's over on the left shoulder. The magic has arrived in Salt Lake City. Celebrate the filmmaking magic and more at Harry Potter the Exhibition. Now open at the shops at Southtown. Tickets at harrypotterexhibition.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Smoke from wildfires across the western U.S. and in Utah is creating poor air quality in many areas along the Wasatch Front. Possible thunderstorms tomorrow may push out some of that smoke for the weekend. Right now it's 82 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
His execution has been set for September 5th, and the death warrant has been signed. But attorneys for Ralph Leroy Menzies aren't giving up yet. They're asking the Utah Board of Pardons to grant him clemency, citing his dementia. And you might recall last week, Holly, a judge signed the death warrant denying a request to stay the case after he was found competent for execution. And just for our listeners' benefit, just so you can remember the case, and I think most people do, this involves a 1986 homicide of Maureen Hunsaker. This was almost 40 years ago. She was at the time a 26-year-old mother of 3. She had been kidnapped. Her body was found up in Big Cottonwood Canyon a few days later. He was convicted. And interestingly, in the clemency petition, the lawyers cited 2 judges. This is really something I haven't seen before. One of the judges was the trial court judge, Ray Uno, who is since deceased. He was the judge that sat over the case at trial, and he said this. He said that had Utah had life in prison without parole, he would have granted that. And in fact, he felt like he had misapplied the law based on what he now knows at that time when he cited this, when he filed this affidavit before he passed away, Menzies' mental illness. He said that he should have had those things taken into account, and he wouldn't have applied the death penalty. The Supreme Court justice who heard his case 4 times, she's now retired. This is Christine Durham. She was the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, served for a very long time with distinction. She's filed an affidavit saying she no longer believes that Menzies should be executed. So there's some pretty powerful voices behind this clemency petition, but it's different than what we've been dealing with so far, which is a motion to set aside the death penalty based on his dementia and the fact that he doesn't understand the nature of what's going on.
Right. So define clemency for me and our listeners.
Yeah. So clemency literally means mercy. It just means that in this case, the Board of Pardons. And it's interesting. A lot of states, you think the governor is going to grant a reprieve. The governor can do this. The governor can do that. In Utah, governor can do very little. We have what's called the Board of Pardons and Parole, which does more than pardon and parole. And they can grant what's called clemency which is really literally just a form of mercy. What would be merciful under the circumstances? And what they're saying here, what the attorneys are saying here, is what's merciful isn't to say, okay, he didn't do this, let's let him walk, but to at least take the death penalty off the table and let him serve out the balance of his life in prison, saying, in effect, he doesn't even understand anymore why he's being executed. And under the law in America, you can't execute a person that doesn't appreciate what's happening. I know that sounds odd, but they're saying he doesn't know what, he doesn't equate the homicide with the death penalty anymore, so it doesn't serve its purpose. It doesn't teach him a lesson. It doesn't, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know whether that's going to get legs, but so they've gone to the judge, the trial court judge, saying he's incompetent. You can't execute an incompetent person. That judge denied it. So now they're going to the Board of Pardons. Of course, they're also appealing the competency issue with the Supreme Court, but they're going to the Board of Pardons saying, okay, in the meantime, at least grant clemency and take the death penalty off the table.
Yeah, one of the things we've talked about in this case is that he had dementia, and there wasn't a whole evaluative process, and so he was found competent again even after this, right? And so it's being revisited. But there are a couple other words I wanted to ask you about. So you have clemency, which is mercy, take the death penalty off the table, but he'll still stay in prison. What's commutation? What's that?
Okay, if you recall when President Biden was leaving office, as most presidents do, they can grant what's called a pardon, which is, and I haven't answered your question yet, a pardon which is you're excused. You didn't commit the crime. Trump did that to the January 6th insurrectionists, saying, I'm going to pardon you. You're no longer even convicted of the crime. A commutation is this. If a person's serving, let's say, a 50-year sentence, and they're 30 years into it, a leader, a governor, or the president can commute the balance of the sentence. In other words, time served, you're done.
Okay.
Not you didn't commit the crime, not that you're not still responsible, not that you may not have to serve some level of parole or probation, but your sentence is commuted. The balance of the term you're supposed to serve is no longer applicable.
So in the Ralph Menzies case, if that were to happen, and that's not on the table, but if it were, that would mean he could be released because he's served enough time.
He would get out, yes. If somebody commuted the balance of his sentence. And by the way, the commutation is also something that only the board can do. Ironically, in Utah, or I mean surprisingly maybe, the governor can only do what's called a respite or a reprieve. In other words, he can say, and we're getting way into the weeds now, but he can say, wait a minute, there's some stuff going on here. Let's stay his execution until the board can meet again.
Meaning we'll just put it on hold.
Just put it on hold until the board can meet. But ultimately, we grant tremendous power to our Board of Pardons in Utah. I mean, even so much as when judges sentence a person to jail, let's say it's for a second-degree felony, the judge can only say, you're serving 1 to 15 years in prison, and the board decides what 1 to 15 means, and only the board. I mean, they'll certainly take input from individuals, but a judge cannot sentence somebody in Utah to 7 years and 8 months like they can in the federal court. It's 1 to 15. It's 5 to life. It's 0 to 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the Board of Pardons in Utah has tremendous power and authority, and including the right to commute, to pardon, not the governor, and in this case, to look at whether or not he should be given clemency.
Wow. So who serves on that board?
The governor usually appoints these individuals. It's an appointment similar to a judicial appointment, except it's not for life. It's for a period of time. There are lawyers, there are non-lawyers on it, and they usually serve a period. It's like a 5 or 6 year appointment that you can be reappointed.
Right.
Most of them serve a couple of terms and then move on and do something else. A lot of them are. I know a lot of people who are currently on the board. They're former attorneys. They're still attorneys, but they've served either as prosecutors or defense attorneys just because they're in the system and they understand the system and they know what's going on.
Yeah.
But they have a tremendous amount of power, and then when they have a case like this, I'm sure that the current board is scrambling and looking at the Menzies case. They probably know it all perfectly anyway because it's been on the table for 40 years. But none of the current board was on the board in 1986 when he was convicted. Plus, the law has changed. We've a couple things. One is that although his case, he was convicted at a time when Utah gave an inmate the right to choose their manner of execution by firing squad or lethal injection. We no longer grant that. But at the time he did, and he chose firing squad, so it's a firing squad case. And also, it's been this long period of time, and he's got this level of dementia.
Right.
So they're going, hey, wait a minute. And plus, Utah law has changed to now allow for life in prison without the possibility of parole. That didn't exist at the time, and that's why the trial court judge said, if that had existed at the time, that would have been what we would have done instead of just life in prison. Because a lot of people felt like life in prison meant, because of what I talked about with the board.
Right.
It's up to the board what life means.
So it seems timely, right? How quickly can or will the Board of Pardons meet to discuss this issue, or because we're 6 weeks out from the execution date?
Right, and that's an important consideration. That's a very important consideration because we have a new prison. There hasn't been a firing squad conducted at the new prison, and it's not like it. I mean, they've got to set up the facility. They've got to create the place to do this. They've got to, set up the ability to do that and get people involved. So the prison system, the warden and the officers there at the prison have to look at how they're even going to carry out this execution.
Yeah.
So I would think that the Board of Pardons has to make a decision pretty quick, at least before, I'm going to pick a date, August 5th, which is 30 days before the expected execution, and say, hey, give the prison enough time to decide what they want to do.
And that's coming right up.
Yeah, it very much is. This is an interesting question. I want to stay on the law because I get to.
You're the law guy.
Do Utah citizens actually have the power equal to the state legislature when they get a citizens initiative passed, or can the legislature obstruct or weaken those initiatives? That's the question now before the Utah Supreme Court. Stay with us on KSL News Radio, and remember, you can stream on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
Hey, I'm Joel Flaker from Dev Simplify. If you caught me this morning on Utah's Morning News with Andy and Amanda, thanks for listening. I talked a little bit about how we help businesses run smoother with custom software and automation. Here's the deal. If your team is wasting time on clunky software tools, jumping between 5 different apps, or just doing things the hard way, we can help fix that. At Dev Simplify, we build software that actually fits your business. Maybe you've got an idea for an app, or you just need to update old systems. Maybe you just want things to run more efficiently. Well, that's what we're here for. And right now, we're offering a free consultation, plus up to 5 hours of expert help to map out your idea and figure out exactly what your users need. It's a real plan you can use, and it won't cost you a thing. Just head to devsimplify.com to get started. That's devsimplify.com.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
Are you really that different than the rest of us?
We are. As a fiduciary, we always focus on what's best for our clients.
What services do you offer besides investing?
We have a team of specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe that's a conflict of interest. We prioritize service over sales goals.
So, then how do your fees work?
We have a simple and transparent fee that's a percentage of our clients' portfolios. So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Are you struggling with pain in your feet, ankles, knees, hips, or lower back? At the Good Feet store, we recommend having high-quality support in all of your shoes. Our personalized arch support system has helped countless people find relief, like Karen. Here is her Good Feet story.
After I decided my pain was too much, and my doctor actually suggested that I do visit the Good Feet store. Pretty amazing when they put the arch supports in your shoe and you walk around and you realize there's not pain and you think, how can this arch support in my shoe make my back pain go away? But it works. And how can it make my knee pain go away? It was incredible.
Come to the Good Feet store today and see what we can do for you. Good Feet arch supports are in stock and available in over 300 different styles and sizes.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Stop in today at the Good Feet store.
This is Jeff Stout with Fink and McGregor Mortgages Made Simple. I know a lot of people are holding on to their low-rate mortgages. After all, who wants to give that up? While sometimes it makes sense or is necessary because of life circumstances, a lot of folks have been holding off waiting for lower rates. While we never know how long that will be, there is a stopgap solution, a home equity line of credit, also known as a HELOC. There are also fixed-rate second mortgage options available. A HELOC has a variable rate and is a line of credit that can be tapped, paid down, and tapped again as circumstances arise. A pure second is usually a fixed rate for a fixed term. We have details and we have solutions. Call us at Fink and McGregor or apply online at 4minutemortgage.com. Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple, 801-264-9494. That's 264-9494. Or on the web at finkmcgregor.com. NMLS 289115.
It's hot. That means now's the time to prep your lawn by applying Revive Organic Soil Treatment. Revive makes water go deep to the roots where grass needs it. Use Revive. It works.
Inside Sources.
I'm excited for this next segment because we have an issue involving the courts versus the legislature, and of course today we have the lawyer and the former legislator in the studio with you. So we're going to maybe agree, maybe disagree on some things. But what's happened is this, Holly: the Utah Supreme Court has accepted what's known as an extraordinary writ regarding the power of citizens to propose and pass ballot initiatives. Now, an extraordinary writ is just that. Well, it's a motion that's really, really important.
Okay.
You know, it's a
that's the extraordinary part.
Right. It's a writ is to bring something before the court. Okay. And extraordinary means that this is such an important issue that it probably doesn't need to go through the normal court process. Because typically the Utah Supreme Court doesn't just take a case on. It would have a case that had gone through the trial court.
Sure.
The trial court would have made a decision, maybe gone through the Utah Court of Appeals, and then the Supreme Court can decide if they want to grant a writ to accept the case. In this case, the case was filed by the citizens group, and really what they're trying to decide is this: whether or not Utah citizens genuinely possess power equal to the legislature as what they're saying the Utah Constitution requires, or if officials can obstruct or weaken the initiatives they oppose. That's what the citizen group has said, and that's what the Utah Supreme Court is going to tackle now.
So tell me about this process, right? So the Supreme Court said, yes, we'll hear this case. What does it look like from here? Is this something that happens quickly? Or are we talking about like 2 years from now we might hear something?
I think it's got to happen pretty quickly because there are going to be a number of ballot initiatives that will come up, and the question is going to be, can they or should they? If you recall, in 2018, there were a number of ballot initiatives that came up before Utah voters. One was expanded Medicaid, one was creating a redistricting commission, and the other involved medical cannabis. And the Utah voters passed all of those by similar, like 60% margins, in part because allegedly the voters felt that the legislature wasn't doing anything. So they said, look, if you're not going to pass a medical cannabis bill, we will.
Yeah.
The problem is the implementation. So all three of those measures pass, and then they go to the legislature for sort of definition. And I think some of the citizens felt like they were gutted or changed or altered in a way that made them not quite what the citizens wanted. The legislature has now taken that a step further and said, maybe we should revisit this whole citizen initiative process and making it a little bit harder for citizen initiatives to come up. And you recall they said, we don't want to be like California and have, 50 ballot measures every year, which of course is never going to happen in Utah. But we do vote in our legislators, and we do say, look, do what you need to do. We give you this authority. We want you to make decisions. But every once in a while you think and you would hope, and I really would like your opinion on this, that if the legislature isn't doing something that our citizens really want, that maybe they should have the ballot initiative process.
It's interesting. There's a couple of things I think we need to be aware of. So first of all, our citizen initiative process is one of the strictest in the nation. It's very difficult to get it on the ballot. You have to have an individual or a group has to gather signatures from at least 8% of active registered voters across the state, and you have to get a certain number from 26 out of Utah's 29 Senate districts. There's also a financial component, right? It's quite difficult to get it on the ballot in the first place. And then when you do, and that passes, right? I think it is demoralizing for people who voted for a ballot initiative, see it pass, and then see Utah's lawmakers say, well, we're going to gut it, or we're going to change it, or we're going to make it harder. So you only passed it by 59%, and now we're saying you have to pass it by 2/3, right? Whatever it is, right? That they keep revisiting. It feels like they keep revisiting the citizen initiative process and making it harder. And actually, Speaker Mike Schultz, who's going to join us later today, he spoke to KSL News Radio almost a year ago about the changes to the ballot initiative process.
We are not making it any harder for ballot initiatives to move forward. In fact, we absolutely very much support ballot initiatives and the citizens' right to do that. And so we're not making it any harder. In fact, we're actually making it a little easier for referendums. If this passes, there will be an additional check on referendums, and so the time to gather signatures will be extended by about 50% to gather signatures on referendums. And that's just to show that we're serious about having that in place for the citizens to keep the legislature in check.
I don't know that the Supreme Court and a lot of the citizen groups would agree with that, but I appreciate what he said, and I like Mike. I think he does a very, very good job. But at its core, it seems that what's happening, or what the legislature is trying to do, is make it a little bit harder for the ballot initiative process to go forward.
Yeah, and I think it feels like it's a lot harder. And so this was before the court decision last year, the Utah Supreme Court decision last year to take some measures off the ballot because the language was not clear, if you remember that. And I think that was, it just feels sometimes, and this is borne out in some of the data that we know from the Utah Foundation. They poll every year, and they want to know what voters' top priorities are. And this for several years in a row, it has been that legislators don't listen. Housing and legislators don't listen. My elected officials don't listen to me.
I'm surprised at something, Holly. Only 22 states allow for citizens to place statutes on the ballot for voters to bypass the legislature. 22 states. That means 28.
Half,
28 don't allow that, and only 5, including Utah, of those 22 are limited to statutory initiatives, not constitutional amendments. So the constitutional amendment requires a lot more than what we're talking about with ballot initiatives. Right. So we're in what's only a tenth of the country does what we do here in Utah, and allows citizens to do ballot initiatives to change statute and statutes only.
Yeah. It's interesting, too, the process, and you mentioned this in your explanation going into it, but you have something on the ballot that says, are you in favor of medical cannabis, for example? That does not put in place any rules, right? What does that look like? What does that look like for dispensaries? What does that look like for people who maybe want to grow cannabis? What does that look like for the physicians who get involved with these medical dispensaries? And that's, I think, one of the legislature's points, right, is you can say, we want this to happen, but that doesn't mean that you have weighed in on all the rules. And the rulemaking process can be quite lengthy, right, and can have a lot of give and take. I think, too, if you look at the redistricting one, so the legislature did have an independent redistricting commission go forward. I think the people who filed a lawsuit after that was because they felt like they didn't take any input from this independent redistricting commission, and that was one of the frustrations, right? People said on the ballot, yes, we want to have this redistricting commission. It did exist. It did make recommendations, but then the complaint was you didn't take any of the recommendations.
Right, and that was the problem. So the ballot initiative said, let's create a redistricting commission. The legislature said, yeah, let's do it. The redistricting commission says, okay, here's how we should redistrict the state. The legislature said, that's great.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. And I think that some of the problem that these citizens group have is that the same thing happened with expanded Medicaid for Utahns.
Yeah, that's right.
That the legislature wasn't crazy about that. And medical cannabis, which has been, it's pretty restrictive in Utah. It's not, of course, I would have never bet in my lifetime that we'd have legal marijuana, period, let alone for medical reason. But it did, and maybe there's baby steps here. But for example, if this year there was a citizen ballot initiative to make legal recreational marijuana, that would be a huge step. And my guess is it probably would do pretty well. But you're right. The legislature would have to decide what it means.
Yeah.
Because you still, for example, you can't drive under the influence.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's got to be regulated in the same way that alcohol and other controlled substances are. So the citizens can say, yeah, let's do it. But where's the fine print? And you have to have that, or otherwise it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, one of the initiatives that this group wants to have a citizens referendum on is transparency, and we've been talking about that the whole show.
Right.
What is open and available to the public.
Right. And you can understand the legislature being a little defensive because, hey, they're voted in for something, and give us some credit. So it goes both ways. But I'm glad you're very objective about it, more than I expected, because as a former legislator. In Utah County, there was a meeting held for hundreds of residents to show up and express their feelings on a cooperative agreement between the county and ICE. Joining us next is one of the commissioners to talk about what happened.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story, Utah County leaders have officially voted to adopt an information sharing agreement between local law enforcement and ICE. This comes after the County Commission heard hours of public comments from people concerned about the idea. Utah County Sheriff Mike Smith told the audience they will monitor the program and make changes if necessary.
I'm not making you any false promises. If ICE becomes something that we don't want here in Utah County, we will push back.
But Smith also clarified this program is focused on informing ICE when people in police custody don't have legal status. It does not give ICE the power to conduct local raids. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, a country singer who suffered a profound loss in the Independence Day flash flooding in central Texas has stepped up to help other victims of the disaster.
The July 4th Central Texas flood hit home for Grammy-nominated Pat Green. His brother, sister-in-law, and 2 nephews were swept away.
If you ever met John or Julia, you were probably in a great spot.
Last night,
Take me out to the dance hall.
Green hosted an online concert and fundraiser with dozens of fellow musicians. When it was over,
I have nothing but gratitude for those people.
More than $1 million was raised for Hill Country flood relief. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
President Trump has signed the HALT Fentanyl Act. The bipartisan legislation amends the Controlled Substances Act to permanently classify illicit fentanyl knockoffs into a category reserved for the most dangerous drugs. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 184 at 44,438. Coming up, a slight chance for a thunderstorm. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hey there, it's Julie from Logan, where we know how to celebrate summer. First, something super cool when it's really hot. Logan has a new plaza downtown with music and games and a splash pad for kids. Well, I said kids, but hey, we don't judge. Jump in. Free Alive After 5 concerts and movies at the plaza Wednesday and Friday nights. Check out the calendar at explorelogan.com. Keep it cool by checking out live tribute concerts like The Monkees, Elton John's The Rocket Man Show, and the Neil Diamond Experience. If theater is more your style, see the musical Bright Star, Broadway's The Prince of Egypt, or the classic comedy The Importance of Being Earnest. After all, Logan is Utah's heart of the arts. Fresh mountain air is only 10 minutes from your hotel. Enjoy cooler temperatures in the canyon while you hike, mountain bike, picnic, fish, or sing yodelay-hee-hoo at the top of your lungs. Everything's cooler in Logan, and we've got a lot going on. Check out the calendar at explorelogan.com. explorelogan.com.
Five guys walk into a JCW's and order burgers. A pastrami, a mushroom Swiss, a guacamole bacon, a hickory barbecue, a ribeye steak, 2 onion rings, 3 french fries, a strawberry, mint, peanut butter, chocolate, and marshmallow shake, and not 1, left a tip. Because at JCW's, we don't ask for it. We think the price you see should be the price you pay. And all that, would you like to leave a tip stuff, is for the birds. JCW's. Quality and a lot of it. Open in American Fork, Lehigh, Provo, South Jordan, and Harriman.
At Intermountain Health, we believe life is a circle. May yours surround you with insight, a healthy perspective, trust, and reassurance. The belief that our differences aren't that different, and compassion just when you need it most. Life is a circle. May yours help you live the healthiest life possible. Intermountain Health.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
All right, Takis fans, Wendy's knows you love your Takis Fuego chips, so we thought, why not make a Takis Fuego meal with a Takis Fuego chicken sandwich with spicy chicken topped with crushed Takis Fuego chips and creamy corn spread. Plus, it comes with Fuego fries inspired by Takis and a bag of Takis Fuego chips. If we had any more heat, we might start an actual... I told him this would happen. For an intense new take on Takis chips, gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Includes 1 ounce Takis Fuego chips while supplies last. Takis and Fuego trademarks are used under license.
Together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. And here's Heather Kelly.
We still have a crash northbound I-15 right at the Spaghetti Bowl where I-80 and 201 freeways join I-15. And it's blocking the HOV lane and left shoulder. It has traffic backed up to about 33rd South and South Salt Lake, but that's much better than it had been. It had been backed up a couple of miles before that early on. You also have a little bit of slowing southbound I-15 between Kaysville and Farmington. That is due to the lane restrictions that happen every day this time. But everybody else moving along nicely, and all the other crashes have been cleared. Common Spirit hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We should see a high today of 97 with a 20% chance of thunderstorms in northern Utah. That chance for thunderstorm continues Friday and Saturday with highs in the lower 90s. Right now it's 86 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Last night in Provo, the Utah County Commissioners unanimously passed a policy that would allow local law enforcement to share information with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. That's ICE. The Utah County Sheriff Mike Smith laid out the policy and called it a partnership of transparency. But what was on the table was whether there should be some level of cooperation between ICE and the Utah County Sheriff's Office and the Utah County Commission. This was a packed house, it seemed like last night, Holly, unanimously agreed that they will adopt that policy.
Yeah, but lots and lots of people who came to express their opinion. And I wanted to talk with Utah County Commissioner Amelia Powers Gardner about what the input was from the people who attended the meeting and why, like what policy shift this is or not. Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you. Glad to be here with you guys, Greg and Holly.
Great. Can you lay out for us just a little bit about, first, let's just start with the policy. Is this a policy shift, and why or why not?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. You know, I'm going to correct Greg on his intro a little bit. This is not for us to share information with ICE. We confirmed with the sheriff last night that Utah County would not be sharing any information with ICE. This gives us the ability to get access to ICE information. Right now, ICE is in our community. They're coming in, they're making arrests, and we have no clue where they are. We have no clue what they're doing. We don't have any access to their information because Utah County, we had a cooperative agreement with ICE, and we had canceled it years ago. And And then knowing that these ICE raids are picking up and that there's rumors of these arrests in our community, we had no clue what was going on. So Sheriff Smith actually, to his credit, flew back to D.C., met with the head of ICE and said, we need you to work with us better. ICE pushed back and he walked out of the room. He literally walked out of headquarters, got called to the White House the next day and said, look, this is not the Utah way. What you're doing is not the Utah way. We actually have had, because of that meeting that he had in the White House, we've had a change of leadership here with ICE in Utah. They got rid of the Utah director because he wasn't working with local law enforcement, brought in a new guy. And so this is our attempt to have a good faith effort to work with ICE in our communities. This agreement gives us the ability to provide interpreters for people that don't speak English. It gives us a formal complaint process. And then the information sharing piece of it is it gives our major crimes task force, not patrol officers, not someone pulling you over, major crimes task force will then have the ability to access ICE information and determine if the people they're dealing with who have committed heinous crimes are here illegally.
So thank you, Commissioner, for clearing that up. I did misunderstand what had happened here, but I guess I talk about this from a jurisdictional question, which is you can certainly enact a policy that has or requests or requires your sheriff's office to cooperate with ICE, but I'm just thinking out loud here. How can you force or ask or request ICE to cooperate with your department?
We can't force ICE to do anything. In fact, that's one of the things that I pushed back on the sheriff a little bit for yesterday and that I was concerned about. And so this is an MOA, a memorandum of understanding, and an agreement that we have the ability to cancel at any time. So if ICE isn't upholding their end of the deal, we're trying to work with them in good faith to say, hey, you're in our community. We want to know what you're doing. We want to know where you're doing it. Make it very clear, our sheriff has told them that he will not participate in labor raids and he will not participate in immigration raids. He doesn't want them going after our hospitality community or our farming community. He wants to work with them on the major crimes task force. In our county, we had a hitman for a MS-13 gang was arrested in our county last year. And we've had some significant issues with drug trafficking coming through the I-15 corridor. Those are the types of crimes that we would like to work with them on. Beyond that, if they don't uphold their end of the deal, we have the ability to cancel this with a simple vote, and we have commitment from the sheriff that he won't fight us on that.
It seems like there were really a lot of people who came to speak against this approach. Can you talk to us about how long were you in this meeting and how many people had the opportunity to speak to your commission?
So the meeting was 5 hours and 15 minutes long. And we let every person who wanted a chance to speak got a chance to speak. We stayed there for 5 hours and listened. And one of the common themes that we found was that people just didn't understand what this agreement was. They thought we were inviting ICE into our community. We weren't. They're already here. We had one comment on Facebook that said that the commission was signing an agreement for the health department to cooperate and that this would affect people with health conditions. There was so much misinformation. And people thought we were approving labor raids. We specifically told them we did not approve labor raids and wouldn't participate in those, right? So there was a lot of misinformation, but people are emotional right now. There's a lot of high emotion, and it's warranted. I mean, if some of the things that we're being told that ICE are doing in other areas are true, there's reason for people to be upset, and we recognize that. That's why we stayed for 5 hours and listened.
We're joined this morning by Amelia Powers Gardner, Utah County Commissioner. It sounds, Commissioner, like I am among the people who didn't clearly understand what was happening here, and I appreciate you clearing that up. So, in a nutshell, if you were to talk to your constituents today, how does this change what is currently happening in Utah County as it relates to the cooperation between the county sheriff and ICE agents and ICE?
Operationally, it doesn't really change anything. But what hopefully it will change is the relationship so that we can know where they are and what they're doing And then when we're investigating major crimes, that we can get information when we need to about things like violent gangs and trafficking.
So it sounds to me like you had 3 items on your agenda that was part of this MOU. One of them was to allow ICE to train, certify, and authorize officers to serve and execute administrative warrants. Is that something that's new and different?
That's only with that's the Major Crimes Task Force aspect of it. So the Major Crimes Task Force people, if they're already arresting someone for drug trafficking, human trafficking, violent crimes, they will be trained by ICE, and if that person is in the country illegally, that they're trained by ICE on how they can handle that situation, but only the Major Crimes Task Force.
I have one final question, if you don't mind. I understand it doesn't go into effect right away. What's the timeline?
We don't know the exact timeline because we've got to get IT agreements and make sure that we get on the schedule for the training and things. But in the meantime, I have agreed to sit down with the ACLU and start looking at other jurisdictions that have similar agreements and see what has worked with them and what hasn't worked with them. So we've got a little bit of time to make sure that any cooperation will not violate people's civil rights. We are very committed to that in Utah County.
Thank you, Commissioner. That was Utah County Commissioner Amelia Powers Gardner, who I think set the record straight on a lot of questions I had about what happened at the commission meeting last night as it relates to ICE and their cooperation going forward with the county sheriff. 6 months ago, Salt Lake City unveiled a 27-point plan to increase public safety. Is it working? The mayor says yes, but also says it's unsustainable as it is. We will talk about how that's going when we come back.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep. But first, take time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. End the days of a poor night's sleep. With offices from Clearfield to St. George, Sound Sleep will help. Call Sound Sleep at 801-716-8672 today.
Hey gang, it's Big Jim Smith. I am now retired and I'm a full-time radio listener, and I'm glad I am. I had a unique situation of not being able to refi my house because I'm not employed. Despite the fact that I have lots of income, I have tons of assets, overcoming some hurdles made it impossible to get things together with banks or credit unions. So I contacted a guy I heard about right here on the radio, Rick Kirchenbaum at Loans by Rick. Best phone call I've ever made. Rick and his team at Vintage Lending were able to help me overcome some incredible hurdles, how to verify my income, all the things I needed to do to get my refi together, and they got me more cash out of my house than I expected. Do it. If you have problems getting your financing together, call Loans by Rick. You can trust Rick Kirchenbaum, Loans by Rick, and Vintage Lending. He is NMLS number 241179. Call him directly at 801-809-7283. That's 801-809-7283. Tell him Big Jim sent you. Loans by Rick.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
This is the story of the one.
As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Ever wonder what goes on behind the scenes of one of the longest-running broadcasts in history? Discover the people, the stories, and the inspiration behind music and the spoken word in the brand new podcast, Behind the Scenes with Music and the Spoken Word. Join host Derek Porter for a heartfelt journey into the passion, preparation, and purpose behind this beloved weekly broadcast. Listen now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Behind the Scenes with Music and the Spoken Word. Inspiration you'll feel, stories you'll never forget.
Join Smith's Food and Drug for a job fair July 17th through 19th at Fat Cat's Bowling Alley in Bluffdale, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Apply at KrogerFamilyCareers.com.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
And expanded Inside Sources.
6 months ago, Salt Lake City unveiled a 27-point plan to increase public safety. Yesterday, while we were doing this show, Erin Mendenhall, Salt Lake City mayor, gave us a 6-month sort of update on that, and she said this: that 12 of the action points have been implemented. 15 are still in progress. Some of those include improved street lighting, park security, and affordable housing investments. But she said that in order to get a lot of these done, lawmakers need to give a little bit more help and assistance.
But I want to be candid about the other goals that are outside of the city's sphere. I'm disappointed, and I wish that more progress was made on those external recommendations during this year's legislative session. The city advocated for several clear policy changes that would have better advanced this plan, but many of them failed to pass through the legislature. I urge lawmakers to give those measures more serious consideration moving forward.
Salt Lake City cannot act alone on this.
Salt Lake City cannot act alone for the public safety plan to be effective. Each level of government, each individual function must hold one another accountable, or the system will remain fragmented and inefficient.
I'm sensing some frustration there.
It's one of the things we've talked about before, right? You've got problems that are complex and they have to be dealt with on multiple levels. You can't, for example, you can't say Salt Lake City will solve homelessness by itself. Or if we had enough affordable housing, homelessness would be solved. You can't just say, here's our one solution. And so I think that's her frustration. But one of the things that she pointed out is that June ended up recording the lowest overall crime rates in 8 years. So that's good, right? But she said the legislature, if you remember from earlier this year, Governor Cox and the Republican legislative leaders actually kind of brought the hammer down and said, you have a really firm deadline to draft a plan, or we're going to do it for you, basically. So that's where we got this plan. It had 27 parts of it, 27 actions. So one of her frustrations is that there were 42 bills that they were advocating for on Utah's Capitol Hill, but 28 of those passed. So what that meant was, of course, that some of the things that they were really hoping for some collaboration with didn't end up passing. And so they're still, like, one of the issues was city-owned land being used for a temporary shelter campus if the state or philanthropic groups funded the operation. But now the state is considering taking that over permanently, and she says progress is stalled completely.
Yeah, and she's also frustrated with other things such as improved street lighting, which obviously is going to cost money, park security, and like you just mentioned, affordable housing investments. I mean, it's 6 months to me seems like not a very long time to implement these things. And if this information that we're getting is correct, 27-point plan, 12 have been complete in 6 months. To me, that seems like progress, good progress. But I think we'll be talking to Speaker Schultz later and maybe get his take on this. But she's really encouraging the legislature. And there's always some push and take between Salt Lake City and the Utah legislature. Yeah. Let's face it. And
she's a Democrat,
right?
Republican.
Generally, they work things out pretty well. But she's probably demanding a little bit more, or at least requesting a little bit more than they're prepared to do at this point.
So you remember Salt Lake City now has a new police chief. It's Brian Redd, and he said that to him the public safety plan has two themes: accountability for those who choose to victimize the community, and support for those in need. So better aligning the criminal justice and social services systems. So he also spoke at yesterday's event. But to Mayor Mendenhall's point, she said it's not just policing, right? Policing is not going to be the be-all and end-all to solve every single problem in Salt Lake City for public safety. And, of course, we know that's true, right? So she said that the city needs a more holistic approach for community-based teams to work with keeping the city clean, or, eyeing a pilot program to bring free restrooms and showers and laundry facilities for people who are unhoused right now, unsheltered.
Yeah, and just having my law office downtown, I've noticed not much of a change in terms of the homeless population. And I know that some people would say that's not a public safety issue, but it's certainly a public health issue, and it is a public safety issue at its core. But I'm not saying that the homeless population is a threat to our public safety necessarily. But when we have people walking the streets and tourists in Salt Lake, they're nervous, they're afraid, right, and they're wondering what Salt Lake is doing about that. Right. And she's got to be frustrated because she can only do so much. I think it was telling because we had a good police chief for a while, Mike Brown, and he was replaced sort of out of the blue recently by
Brian Redd.
I mean, the city is, and that was about concurrent with this plan, this 6-month plan. It seems like it was about the same time.
I think that was part of the plan. After she unveiled it.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yep.
So the city's being proactive, being aggressive, and saying, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. But they're saying to the legislature, hey, we can only go so far. We need some help. We need some money.
Tyler Clancy, he is a police officer himself, and he is a Utah lawmaker. He's a legislator from Provo. I think he's a detective now. But this is an issue that he has cared about, of course, from before he even got in. He worked with the Pioneer Park Coalition and working on at least addressing the homelessness issue in Salt Lake, but around the state as well. And he actually had some praise for her. This is a story by Fox 13, but he said that Mayor Mendenhall and Chief Redd, that he sees some good progress with them. And even though the mayor said, look, there's a long list of things that we just can't do by ourselves, Representative Clancy said that he thinks that the legislature will still be responsive, that they are trying to be good partners. And that because he's been on the front lines of these, he really sees the need for a safety net and public safety, social services. If you remember the last legislative session, one of the things that he promoted and got passed was expanding free or reduced school lunch for children in Utah, right? Because it's an issue that he sees every day when he's on the front lines.
Yeah, and I think you also see after school programs and people out when they shouldn't be. And I wonder how much cooperation there is also between Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County, because the bigger problem that we have in Salt Lake, I think, involves the entire region. And I know Mendenhall's got to stay within her lane, but Jenny Wilson of Salt Lake County probably has some of the same concerns and is probably addressing some of the same issues with the legislature. And of course, she's from the same political party, so maybe getting some of the same pushback.
Mayor Mendenhall.
Right, yes.
Yeah, look, I mean, one of the things that we know in Salt Lake County is the Jordan River Trail, and that has been that has been an issue where even recently there were some news stories talking about cartels that had been active along the Jordan River Trail. And so there's a cleanup and a safety issue going on there. So not in downtown Salt Lake, but in Salt Lake County. But, homelessness isn't reserved just for the Salt Lake County. It's everywhere in the state. But look, Representative Clancy said, he said again, look, we think we're going to see more cooperation, but we also need to have more conversations about how do we work together. And we've talked so many times about needing collaboration to solve some of these really difficult problems. So there are some things that Salt Lake City is really happy with, and they feel like they're making progress on, but they just are very clear we can't do this by ourselves.
Yeah, and Mendenhall did indicate that the numbers are getting better.
Under Chief Red's leadership, Salt Lake City ended the month of June on an 8-year low for overall crime. And we're on track to finish out the year 2025 with over 1,000 more jail bookings than 2024. Our officer proactivity is up nearly 10% year over year. But I want to be clear, we don't view these statistics as definitive success. Rather, they're a sign that we're moving in the right direction. And they're also a constant reminder that this work is never done, and we will never stop measuring and listening about our progress toward our goals.
It used to be that younger voters favored more liberal candidates, but the politics have been shifting, leading some political observers to ask if Gen Z will be the most conservative generation. When we come back, we'll get into the changing political and generational tides with Deseret News' Brigham Tomko.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour is breaking news. The Trump administration will hand over Medicaid enrollee data to Immigration and Customs Enforcement. ICE officials will be given access to the personal data of the nation's 79 million Medicaid enrollees, including home addresses and ethnicities. The agreement obtained by the Associated Press says this will allow them to track down immigrants who may not be living legally in the U.S. Other national stories we're covering this hour from ABC News. A U.S. attorney who is the daughter of the former FBI director has just been fired.
Multiple sources tell ABC News the Justice Department fired a U.S. attorney from the Southern District of New York who recently led the prosecution of Sean Combs. While an assistant attorney, she was part of the team that successfully prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell and multiple gang members. But that U.S. attorney's name is Maureen Comey. She's the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey. Sources say President Trump privately vented about having a Comey work in his administration. Dave Packer, ABC News.
A new study shows the push to build more homes in Utah is working. Utah was named in the top 5 states for building new homes last year. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
Utah ranked 4th only behind North and South Carolina and Idaho, which topped the list assembled by the company Construction Coverage. Their study also broke down where a lot of these new homes are popping up in Utah. Provo, Orem, and Lehi all lumped together to crack the nation's top 10 mid-sized metros for new homes built, while St. George ranked number 3 for smaller cities.
Despite all the new homes, Utah still has the 7th highest median home price in the nation at more than $535,000. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 146. We're at 44,401. Coming up, we could see a few pop-up thunderstorms today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
AARP Utah is excited to share a big win for Utahns on their electric bill. Thanks to the Public Service Commission's decision, instead of the original crippling proposal of a 30% increase, your Rocky Mountain power bill will go up less than 5%. AARP Utah wants to thank over 3,000 of its members who stepped up to help. You used your voice and sent postcards addressing your concerns that were hand-delivered to the Commission. You made a difference. Your voices were heard. And thanks to you and other AARP Utah members, critical electricity for so many will remain on. Buildings will remain safe, cool, and the possible hardship for so many has been averted. AARP Utah also extends thanks to the Commission for protecting access to affordable energy programs critical to so many. To learn more about AARP Utah's work and how you can get involved, visit aarp.org/UT. That's aarp.org/UT.
You probably saved my life.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight and keep it off.
I mean, I was 30 pounds overweight, and I went in, and the doctor said, you need to change your diet.
Get help and get started with Soda Weight Loss.
Got off my blood pressure medicine and my cholesterol medicine, and that is amazing to me.
I went from a 16, 18 down to a size 4 now. So that is amazing. It makes you feel so good.
Splash into summer savings right now with Soda's lowest prices of the year.
No injections, no pills, no hunger.
I would recommend Soda because it's sustainable. This is lifetime change.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal.
We're the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and results. And with our incredible summer savings, what are you waiting for?
Get help, get results at SodaWeightLoss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Hi, I'm Jake Harward. My grandpa started Harward Farms back in 1945. I'm a third-generation farmer. And hey, who doesn't love fresh sweet corn in the summertime? So get your water boiling now because Harward Farms Glamillier Green roadside stands are now open with our locally grown, non-GMO corn, picked and delivered fresh daily. Click online to harwardfarms.com for a list of our locations that are in the communities we have been a part of for close to 30 years. Stop on by and we'll see you when you get here. Fresh from our family's farm to your family's dinner table.
Harward Farms. It's no baloney. Proper window installation makes a huge difference. Hi, this is Jason.
And Kathy of Window World. Hey, anybody can bust out your old windows and slap in the new ones and leave you with a mess.
Our in-house installers are thoroughly trained to expertly install, seal, and trim your new window.
And they clean up afterwards.
Our windows have a transferable lifetime warranty.
And we warranty the installation, too.
Call Window World at 281-8111.
Window World. And as Doug always said,
that's no baloney.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. And here's Heather Kelly.
We've got pretty good speeds anywhere you're trying to get to across the Wasatch Front. Just a little bit of slowing southbound I-15 as you make your way between Kaysville and Farmington from lane restrictions. And we're also picking up a few brake lights if you are passing the I-80 interchange all the way down to the 6 South exit ramp. There may be a crash on that 6 South. We had one earlier on, but not huge delays in the area. Everybody else moving nicely coming out of Tooele County on I-80 and on the east and west side belt routes. Deseret First Credit Union is turning 70, and now it's their turn to say thank you, with special member giveaways happening all year long. Visit dfcu.com to learn more. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We should see a high today of 97 degrees, 94 Friday, 93 on Saturday. Each of the next 3 days has a 20% chance of an afternoon pop-up thunderstorm. Right now it's 86 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We're continuing to follow developing news that KSL News Radio's Amanda Dixon just broke a few minutes ago. The Trump administration says that it will hand over Medicaid enrollee information to Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials. ICE officials will be given access to personal data of the nation's 79 million Medicaid enrollees, including their home addresses and their ethnicities. They say this will allow them to track down immigrants who may not be living legally in the United States, according to the agreement signed or obtained by the Associated Press. And this has to be, Holly, a very important part of the Trump administration's attempt to arrest 3,000 people daily. And it's interesting that it follows up on our conversation with Utah County Commissioner Amelia Powers Gardner.
Right. I mean, so first of all, I think there's a lot of layers that are deeply concerning about this. One of those is that people who are here undocumented should not have access to Medicaid, right? That's one of the things we keep hearing is that they're not eligible for Medicaid. The other one is the private information of your home address and your ethnicity being released to this agency. I mean, are you going to be targeted by ethnicity now? Right? I mean, I think we have seen plenty of evidence that that has happened, but 79 million people will now have their information given over to this immigration.
Yeah, and imagine if you, because I dealt with a case very similar to this, had some association with ICE. You worked there, you had some family members there, and suddenly they're about to find out that you are a Medicaid recipient, or that someone in your family is, or that someone you're close to is. I mean, this is 79 million Medicaid enrollees. That personal information, home addresses, ethnicities, turned over to ICE.
Yeah. So one of the things that the AP reports is that they first started tracking this story earlier this spring, but they said when they first wrote about it last month, actually, so I guess only just this summer, Health and Human Services officials said it was aimed at rooting out people enrolled in the program improperly, which is what I'm saying. They're not eligible to be on if they're here without documentation. But the latest data sharing agreement makes it clear that ICE officials intend to use the CMS data to allow ICE to receive identity and location information on people identified by ICE.
Yeah, interesting. We'll follow that. So that's breaking news we're just learning about today, just this morning. But let's move to this question this surprised me a lot. Gen Z, is it going to be the most conservative generation with things like TikTok at the forefront of political media consumption among younger generations? It's beginning to show in the voter statistics as well that Gen Z is more conservative than a lot of us thought.
And we have Brigham Tonko with the Deseret News calling in or on the phone with us right now. Hi, Brigham.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so first of all, do you know off the top of your head, what are the years for Gen Z?
I think it's those born between 1997 and 2012 off the top of my head. So it's those who are aged around 30 to like 17 or 16-year-olds.
So pretty young. So what is it? You wrote an article really that said, will Gen Z be the most conservative generation? Talk to us a little bit about that and why we're seeing this.
So let me bring you guys back to March when this conversation really exploded across the political ecosystem. Ezra Klein, a well-known New York Times columnist, had David Shor, one of the leading Democratic data scientists, on his show, and this is what he said. Young people have gone from being the most progressive generation since the baby boomers to becoming potentially the most conservative generation that we've experienced maybe in 50 to 60 years. And so that quote kind of dropped like a bomb on the Democratic Party and ignited kind of a firestorm of pushback. And the debate really centers around whether a very noticeable shift in Gen Z voters in the 2024 presidential election translates to a more conservative generation, or maybe it just means they were more pessimistic and wanted to oust the incumbent.
Yeah, I recall when after Kamala Harris had been nominated after the Democratic convention, that there were so many people, Brigham, who were saying young voters are now going to come out. This is going to encourage young people. It's going to bring out this younger generation who haven't felt like they've had anything to vote for or anyone to vote for, especially with Trump and Biden sort of advanced age. But I'm looking at this Shor's Blue Rose research that said Trump won at least 50% of support among young voters these young voters under 20. I mean, that seems like that had to be surprising, and Democrats have got to be on their heels right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you break it down by race and sex demographics, the message kind of gets more dour for the Democratic Party. So among young white male voters, 70% of 20-year-old white men, or over 70%, voted for Trump. And that's much more than 75-year-old white men who voted for Trump at around 58%. And those were seen as kind of Trump's, strongest base, but it seems like that's shifting younger, which traditionally has been seen as kind of a Democratic stronghold, has been those younger voters.
What do you see with women voters in this age demographic?
So that's one of the most interesting and concerning takeaways from the 2024 presidential election is there is an unprecedented gender gap among these young voters, with 18-year-old men 23 percentage points more likely to support Trump than their female counterparts. But even then, young women also shifted towards Trump about 6 percentage points. And so the shift was seen across genders, but the gap between men and women is getting much larger when you break it down by partisan affiliation.
What about when you take people of color into the equation?
And so that was one of the big stories after the election, as we saw the most heavily Latino counties in the country, for example, in southern Texas, swinging dozens and dozens of percentage points compared to 2020 in favor of Trump and flipping red for the first time in generations. And so we saw that among Gen Z and millennial voters as well, with young black voters swinging towards Trump by 14.5 points, Latinos by 22.5 points. And this was actually a much greater shift than young white voters, who shifted at about 4.5 percentage points. And so that kind of goes against another political orthodoxy that has been held by the Democratic Party, at least over the last few decades, that young minority voters, more than any other group, were ones they almost took for granted as being in their camp.
Yeah, interesting. You also mentioned earlier that pollsters aren't sure yet whether that was just specifically we're voting against the status quo, or if this is going to be like a long-term thing. But there was a thing in your article that you pointed out about generic ballots. Do you want to talk about that really briefly? We only have about a minute left.
Okay. Yeah, so quickly, there was a poll done this last spring that showed the younger Gen Z voters, 18 to 21, said that in 2026 they would vote for a Republican at a 12 percentage point margin. So that bodes ill potentially for Democrats going forward. But I just want to mention really quickly that to complicate this question, we actually don't see Gen Z becoming more conservative on the most important issues to Republicans, on giving undocumented immigrants legal status. 69% of young adults support that, 10 points more than they did in 2012. 63% of Gen Z thinks that discrimination constitutes a barrier to blacks progressing from the lower class, and that's 20 percentage points more than they did in 2012. And finally, 69% of Gen Z supports legal abortion, compared to 46% back in 2012. So over the last 13 years, we've actually seen a 20-point increase in the support for these liberal stances on some of these issues among Gen Z.
Interesting. Thanks for joining us, Brigham. That's Brigham Tonko with the Deseret News.
I'm glad he finished with some sort of good news there at the end for the Democrats. That was an interesting study, interesting report. When we come back, you don't have to remove your shoes when you go through security at the airport anymore. Now it sounds like we'll be able to take more liquids through the line as well. Do you like this idea? Text us your thoughts at 57500. We'll be right back.
You've built the dream, the home, the lifestyle, the legacy. Now it's time your windows and doors reflect that same $1 million standard. Whether you're designing a stunning custom home or upgrading the one you've loved for years, Peach Doors and Windows is here to bring that vision to life with precision, style, and craftsmanship.
The Peach specialty? High-end custom windows and doors that don't just fit your space, they elevate it. From sleek, modern lines to timeless, elegant finishes, they offer the kinds of craftsmanship that truly complements a $1 million space. And with Peach, the process is easy. No pressure, no gimmicks, just knowledgeable experts helping you find solutions to turn your someday project into right now.
Visit their spacious showroom, get inspired, and create something beautiful together. Peach Doors and Windows for the $1 million home you live in and the $1 million feeling you deserve. Visit peachdoorsandwindows.com or call 801-566-1255 today.
That's Peach Windows and Doors. Give them a call, 801-566-1255.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different.
TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-275-1728. That's 800-275-1728.
Peak summer fun is here, and so are peak summer savings during the Utah Summer RV Sale, presented by Bish's RV. July 17th through the 19th at the Shops of Southtown, we're bringing you sizzling summer savings on new and used RVs. We're packing the parking lot with smoking deals for every budget. Shop new and used travel trailers, fifth wheels, toy haulers, motorhomes, and more. Like travel trailers starting under $119 per month on approved credit. 90 days of all play and no pay OAC. Plus trade up when you trade in your current RV. Get an additional $500 value added to your current travel trailer, or an additional $1,000 added to your current fifth wheel or Class C motorhome when you trade it in. You'll also get a Blackstone Adventure Ready grill with any RV purchase during the sale. And this is the only summer show to feature the entire lineup from Wayfinder RV, exclusively at Bish's. Don't miss your best chance for an epic second half of summer during the Utah Summer RV Sale. 3 days only, July 17th through the 19th at the Shops at Southtown. See you there. Based on approved credit, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock number 81734. Subject to prior sale. See the for details. Deal number 426B.
Hey, I'm Joel Flaker from Dev Simplify. If you caught me this morning on Utah's Morning News with Andy and Amanda, thanks for listening. I talked a little bit about how we help businesses run smoother with custom software and automation. Here's the deal. If your team is wasting time on clunky software tools, jumping between 5 different apps, or just doing things the hard way, we can help fix that. At Dev Simplify, we build software that actually fits your business. Maybe you've got an idea for an app, or you just need to update old systems. Maybe you just want things to run more efficiently. Well, that's what we're here for. And right now, we're offering a free consultation, plus up to 5 hours of expert help to map out your idea and figure out exactly what your users need. It's a real plan you can use, and it won't cost you a thing. Just head to devsimplify.com to get started. That's devsimplify.com.
We're giving away a chance to win a free air conditioner to anyone who's commented on our YouTube videos. So go to Healthy Water and Air and comment today. Some restrictions apply, so see YouTuber at yourservicepros.us for details.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
On Monday, we had the Deseret News editor, Jay Evenson, come in to the program and talk to us about some changes that TSA had made with respect to no longer having to take off your shoes when you go through security. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem teased some other possible changes that could be coming, including regulations involving the size of liquid containers that are allowed for passengers boarding flights in the U.S. Speaking at the Hill Nation Summit about other possible changes coming.
I just want you to know the day I walked in the door, I started questioning everything TSA does. You still need pre-check because if you want to leave your electronics in your bag and
so that's the
things
only
like that.
Is that the only
reason?
There's
a few things, but I will tell you, the liquids, I'm questioning. So that may be the next big announcement is what size your liquids need to be. We're looking at our scanners. What we have put in place in TSA a multi-layered screening process that allows us to change some of how we do security and screening. So it still is safe. It is still a process that is protecting people who are traveling on our airlines. But it has to make sense. It has to actually do something to make you safer. I don't think that was questioned under the Biden administration.
So one of the things, of course, is as you talk about travel, is what's the balance between we're going to stay safe. And if you and I are a little older, yeah. We remember getting on where there were still security checks, but it was not like it is now, right? People could walk with you all the way up to the gate and wave goodbye to you at the gate. Yep. And, I never had to take off my shoes. Nobody cared about the size of liquids that you had. And I'm not even 100% sure that they cared. Like, I used to do cross-stitch on the airplane, and then after 9/11, it's like, well, I don't dare take a needle on. Somebody might be, concerned I will use that as a weapon.
It applies everywhere, but the airport is really important. I mean, even myself going to court, in the old days, you just walk in. You could walk back to the clerk's office.
Right.
You could walk into a judge's office and talk to him all the time. There were even areas where people just hung out. Now there's security, there's metal detectors, and the airport is probably the place where you have the most, the highest level of security, the highest level of what you have to go through to get through
Right.
that. I thought the shoe thing was kind of weird at the beginning. The liquids, I'll be honest, I'm naive as I could be. I didn't know that the 4-ounce rule was still in effect. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never followed it. I guess people just kind of let me go through. I thought over the last couple of years that they had relaxed that because I've been taking stuff in that I probably shouldn't have. I guess they take my
shampoo,
hair gel away
Right.
and whatever.
Right. So we actually do want to hear from our listeners, and if you can text 57500, we have a couple of responses already. Saying one says it helps me. I walk with 2 canes, so that would be does this make a difference? And another person says the technology probably exists now to not require previous standards, but we're yet to hear details, which is absolutely true. We haven't heard the details. And I just want to pivot for one tiny second. We did ask when we talked about Epstein, we asked for people to text in what they thought, and we got a whole bunch right as we were going to the break.
That's right. Yeah.
And every single person who texted us said yes, release those files.
Yeah, that one wasn't even close. You know, I do think that we had gotten to a point where the level of screening and the level of security, and it was in response to a lot of things that were going on, especially 9/11 and things like that, where hey, wait a minute, we need to be much more careful with what we do here. But boy, it got to the point where it was. I mean, even recently, when you're taking your shoes off and taking that away and having to go through all of that, you have to take and they do this at the courthouses too, and I don't know why, I don't understand the reason, but you have to take your laptop out of your
that would be interesting because
car,
I never understood why you have to do that either, right? And I've gone through some airports where it's like, it's fine, leave your shoes on and leave your laptop in the bag. And I know that they were saying they were doing a pilot, like a trial. Do you have to take the laptops out? So maybe if somebody's smart enough to text us why. But yeah, same. You have to take the laptops out. But if you have a tablet, those can stay in. Phones can stay in.
Oh, I thought you took all your electronics out.
No, the phones can stay in your bag.
Yeah. So I mean, I want to get on a flight and feel safe. I want to feel like there has been some level of security. I'm wondering if at some point, Holly, we can do more, and they do a little bit right now, the whole pre-check thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I will submit to a background check. I will submit to certain things so that I can get through. I don't want to have to pay for it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that there's, but it's like at the court. They don't let us through, but there are certain courts that will let certain people, like the court staff and the judges, they don't have to go through anything. They carry a little badge. They've been through that. They walk right through. And it's funny. Sometimes I'm a judge in small claims court.
Yeah.
When I'm a judge in small claims court, they let me walk through. But I carry the same briefcase when I'm a defense attorney. You know what I mean? Like,
and then
they're
you have
like,
to go through the
hey,
security
judge,
protocols.
you got to walk through.
Oh my goodness.
But I'm the same person. But I do think you could streamline it. That doesn't mean that something bad won't happen or that there's not the potential for that. But if it's somebody that's been crime-free for 50 years and can pass a background check, maybe they can go to the shorter line. I still think that you have to have the metal detector. I completely understand that.
Yeah.
And because remember what Evenson told us the other day, there's still a number of people,
almost 7,000 a year,
right, that walk through the airport with a gun. And just having represented a lot of those people, every single one of them that I represented forgot that they had a gun.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate the metal detector. I absolutely do in that respect, because you don't want somebody walking on with a gun, even if it's accidental, because who knows what could happen.
Right.
But that's a level of technology that we have, and those levels can increase. And so it seems to me that you could do something that would allow for a little bit more streamlined process, but still have the safety in place so that guns and knives and those type of things don't get through the checkpoint.
I'll tell you one thing that was really difficult for me when we had kids in wheelchairs and they needed to be scanned. And I remember a TSA agent who was making me take my very disabled daughter out of the wheelchair. And like she can't walk, right? She never progressed past a 3-month-old level, and it wasn't like we'll scan her in her chair. It was like pull everything out, right? We're gonna have you do all, and it was so complicated, and that part was difficult. There's got to be a better way, but I think to our texter's point, the technology has improved now. It's better.
Yeah, I remember, and just looking at this one texter who said it helps me because I walk with 2 canes. I remember I blew out my knee and I had to get on an airplane.
Yeah,
and I had crutches. And so they took the crutches and then made me hop on one foot.
That's
and,
not
there's a
good.
little ramp you got to get through there.
Yeah.
And I was like, you guys got to be kidding me.
You got to be reasonable,
Let go of the let go of the crutches and hop through. And if you can get through, and of course my brace didn't get through, but I can't take that off. Right. So then they scan it with those little wands. And I understand.
Right.
I mean, and I think our TSA agents, at least here locally, do a very good job. And as given the size of our airport, it's not usually a horrible wait.
My recent travels, I have just gone right through security. There really has not been long lines. They've been kind. They've been efficient. Right. But I still had to take off my shoes and make sure we had the liquids in a clear container so that they could see as they went through. And I've traveled with our 10-year-old, and she's, she has her own little travel thing where she can put her skincare routine, right? Because she's like 10 and has more steps than I've ever used in my whole life. But it's one of the things I think to Secretary Noem's point, sometimes you have to reevaluate. Like, we started these things for a reason. With the shoes, they had one data point, and so now they've revisited and said, okay, we're not going to make you take your shoes off anymore.
So the shoe thing has come off, the shoe requirement, and now maybe the 4 ounces of liquids.
Yeah.
I don't know what else they could do. I mean, just looking forward to
leave your laptops in the bag.
Yeah, leave the laptops in the bag, or maybe do, like I talked about earlier, a pre-screening for certain individuals so they can sort of fast track and go through a little bit different system.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Yeah. Well, I'm not flying anywhere soon, but I'll be glad that Kristi Noem's in charge of it and making life a little bit easier for some of us. Stay with us on KSL News Radio. When we come back after the break, Speaker Mike Schultz from the Utah House joins us to talk about the status of Salt Lake City's public safety plans. We talked about that with, we heard some sound bites from City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall a minute ago, and how the state aims to continue helping the city. We'll also chat with him about foreign ownership of Utah lands. We talked about that yesterday. And don't forget, you can always stream us on KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jessica Lowell. KSL's top story this hour. Utah Senator John Curtis says the American public has the right to be upset that the Department of Justice hasn't released the Jeffrey Epstein files after the U.S. attorney said she has the documents sitting on her desk.
No wonder the American people are suspicious and upset, and I think they have a total right to. And I think we should always push for transparency.
Curtis tells Inside Sources any government gets in trouble when they aren't upfront and transparent. Senator Mike Lee posted an interview on social media where he calls for people close to Epstein to be questioned by Congress. Meantime, President Trump continues to dismiss criticism of his administration's handling of the files.
They're really trying to take their cues from the White House, and the White House is just sending mixed messages. We've heard from President Trump saying that Attorney General Pam Bondi should release any credible information, but at the same time, he's bashing essentially all of the files that he was briefed on as uncredible.
ABC's Alex Malin reporting. ICE officials will be able to access Medicaid information. That's according to an agreement obtained by the AP. ICE officials reportedly plan to track immigrants who may not be living legally in the United States. The agreement was signed earlier this week between officials with Medicare and Medicaid and the Department of Homeland Security. And your money at this moment, looking like a green day on Wall Street. Dow up 130 points. Coming up, some chances of storms along the Wasatch Front in the afternoon. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Home sellers, do not lose money selling your home the old way. Make more money when you sell your home with a Bank Buster loan. This is Rod with the Save Right Realtor team at Realty Path. Average interest rates are in the mid to high sixes, but Save Right Realtors will market your home with a fixed rate as low as 4.75%. The ultra-low Bank Buster rate gives buyers monthly payments that are hundreds less than comparable homes. When your home is much more affordable, you get a larger pool of potential buyers who can buy your home. When buyers compare homes and see your home is hundreds less per month, you'll get a quicker offer and a higher sale price. Do not lose money selling your home the old way. Sell faster and make more money. Sell with Save Right. Sell with the Bank Buster loan. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com.
Have you seen those billboards that have a giant turtle on them that say win a new air conditioner? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and you're probably wondering, what's that all about? Well, the turtle is a character in our new TV commercials that'll be airing this summer. I know it's kind of silly, but we're always trying to figure out how to grab attention and stand out in a crowded market. We thought a big turtle would do the trick. Another thing we're doing is every week this summer, Any Hour is giving away an air conditioner to one lucky customer. We're calling it the Coolest Summer Sweepstakes. Here's how it works. This summer, if you get an estimate to replace your air conditioner or purchase a new air conditioner from Any Hour Services, you'll automatically be entered into our weekly drawing. If your name is drawn, Any Hour will pay for your air conditioner, up to $8,750. We just want to meet more homeowners that are in the market for a new air conditioner and have the chance to earn their business. We're confident that once you have an Any Hour technician in your home, you'll see why we have over 28,000 Google reviews. No purchase is necessary. See official rules at anyhour.com.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that. And third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Heather Kelly.
We are accident-free right now all across the Wasatch Front, and the only slowdowns we're seeing is where you have construction with lane restrictions. So that's I-15 southbound from Kaysville to Farmington, as well as SR-36 in Tooele County heading north, trying to get onto I-80 at Lake Point, but everybody else right now is moving quite nicely. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Chances of rain in the afternoons through the rest of the week. Highs stay in the 90s. Right now it's 90 degrees and partly cloudy. I'm Jessica Lowell from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So one of the people that is shaping Utah's future is actually Utah House Speaker Mike Schultz, and he is on the line with us today. Welcome, Speaker Schultz.
Hey, good morning, you guys. How are you?
We're good. How's your summer going so far?
Oh, you know what? It's been an amazing summer. We're lucky to live in Utah. So many great things to do, and I absolutely love it. How about you guys?
Same.
Good, except it's hot.
Yeah, right.
It has been a little
hot.
And,
the legislature do anything about that? Yeah.
Yeah. Can you please make it cooler? Thank you.
We're working on it, right? So Governor Cox apparently has a direct line. He's been working on it too. So.
That's right.
I'll call him next.
That's right. So look, I just want to start off. We talked in an earlier segment about the Mayor Mendenhall's press conference that she held yesterday. She's doing a 6-month update on the safety plan. And I wondered if you wanted to weigh in, because I know the legislature, the governor, they were all saying, look, you need to come up with a plan. She has a plan.
Yeah.
How do you feel like it's going so far?
Oh, I think it's going amazing. I really want to give Mayor Mendenhall a lot of credit for what she's doing. As you know, there was so many in the state and so many inside Salt Lake City, and including the legislature, the governor. We all had a lot of concerns a year ago on public safety in our capital city. And so we went to Mayor Mendenhall as a business community, as state legislature, and as the governor, all combined said, we need to do something about this. And Mayor Mendenhall really stepped up to the plate, and she really has taken it seriously. She's made a lot of changes that were needed inside the city. She has an amazing police chief who is doing an amazing job. The new police chief, and there's just been so many positive changes and movements. And, there's a lot of things that are out of her control that we were not aware of on the state side. And so she's pointed that out. She's working on some of those issues, and we're working on a lot of them. And so she's done a fantastic job.
She did mention in her press conference, when you talk about out of her control, that maybe the legislature, she's at the point where she could use some help from the legislature. Do you know where she's going now? She said that like 12 of her 27 plans have been implemented. There's still another 15, and she was leaning toward you all to say, hey, I now it's time I need to get some money.
Yeah, I think there's a few things that are out of her control. One of them is the jail space, right? And that's a county issue. And so we've been working collectively between the city, county, and the state to address the jail space. Another one is the courts and the judges not holding these people accountable and just being a revolving door. We talk about they get let out of jail and they beat those that arrested them, law enforcement, back to the crime scene or back to wherever they were arrested. A little bit sarcastic, but somewhat the truth. And so, that's an area too where the legislature can work on. There's always funding issues, and that is an area that I'm not going to say isn't something that needs to be considered. But also, we need the cities to step up as well. And so we put a ton of money into the homelessness issue and into public safety over the last several years. But really, it's a local government issue. You look at states like Florida. Did you know that Utah puts more money into homelessness than Florida does?
Wow.
And use Miami for an example. Miami covers most of the cost for those issues. And so, I don't think it's fair to put it onto the state and say, hey, state, come and take care of this. Locals need to step up. So, but, hey, we're partners. We want to work together collaboratively with the mayor, with the city to find solutions, and that's what we'll do moving forward.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm going to pivot right now and ask you a question about China. So we were able to actually talk yesterday with Representative Perucci, and the state was able to stop a purchase by a Chinese company. And I'm wondering if you want to just speak briefly to why is this important that China does not buy land in Utah?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So Representative Perucci has done a fantastic job leading out on these issues for about 5 years now, started with the Confucius Institute and Chinese government actually infiltrating into our school system. She led the charge 4 or 5 years ago to do away with that. She was successful. Then she moved to the land. And I just think, look, China is not America's best friend, and it certainly is Utah's not our best friend. We need, and actually a huge adversary. China owning land inside the state of Utah has been at the top of our radar since 2023. We're ahead of most other states. Most other states, the legislation that they're passing doesn't have teeth to it. It's just a messaging. Utah's legislation that we passed over the last several years has teeth in it. I'm proud of Representative Perucci. The governor's taken it seriously and enforcing the laws that the legislature passed, and we've had some huge success stories. And we need to keep China from owning land inside the state of Utah. And other foreign entities as well that don't have our best interest at heart.
Right. We talked about some of those might involve North Korea and Russia and others. Yeah. You talked about legislation, and without getting into the nuts and bolts of it, how can legislation help? I mean, what's the purpose of that legislation, and how does it affect, for example, county clerks and others when they're dealing with these land sales?
Yeah, so we have a process, and it's really led by the executive branch, the governor. That's why I say he's done a really good job. So once they get notified, and once, because it's hard. I mean, to track every parcel of land that's sold, do they have a foreign adversary behind it? And so we really rely on county clerks and others to tip off our Department of Public Safety. And then when that happens, there's a process in place where they go and verify it, do the research, and investigate it. And then they are the ones that take action. So really it's up to Department of Public Safety to enforce that law. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, we're going to pivot again, if that's okay. Thanks, Speaker Schultz.
Yeah. And by the way, I just want to say there'll be others coming. There's others coming down the line, too, that we know the Department of Public Safety is working on that's not being talked about yet. But at the right time, those will be brought up as well.
Great. Representative Perucci actually did mention one thing that she's looking at with water infrastructure. So we'll watch that. I want to talk about forests. So in Utah right now, we have, I think, 7 major wildfires burning. We have something like 83,000 acres have burned so far this fire season, and we still have a ways to go. Last year, we were just under 91,000, so we're going to eclipse that this year, I think. There's no question.
Yep.
So we talked earlier with Senator Curtis, and he has some federal legislation. What can you talk to us about, briefly, what are we doing in Utah? What kind of things do you need as a legislature to be able to manage the forest like you want to?
Yeah. Well, those are really great questions. So I'll talk about the negatives first, and then maybe I'll get into the positives. So the negatives with the federal government is they don't allow us, with the roadless rule and a few things going away, we do have a lot more resources, or just within the last couple of weeks or months, to be able to get ahead of it and manage. That's one thing that Utah actually leads the nation on is preventative maintenance. Preventative, go in there and clearing out some of the forests and some of that, the fuels, and actually in many cases putting them to productive uses. We've got to get back to where we're managing our forests again. And the good thing that excites me now is this is something the Republicans have been hounding on forever. But when you see things happen, what happened in L.A. and other areas, now other good common sense people are looking at it, pushing back on the environmental groups, saying, no, we need to get back to where we're managing our forests again. We used to do it decades ago. We've got to get back to there. So there's a lot of criticism that can be had towards the federal government that's fair on that, not letting us manage work on the preventative maintenance stuff. We're getting back to where we're working on the preventative stuff. It'll take another couple decades to get back to where we're in good shape, but we got to start. We are starting. Now, on the good side with the federal government, the Forest Service and others have been unbelievably great partners when there is a fire. And Utah works really well with the Forest Service. They're great partners in helping us manage those fires. And I had a phone call this morning, and again, state and the Forest Service, federal government are really working well to fight these fires. We have 3 large fires in the state right now that we're really keeping an eye on: the Forsyth Fire, the Deer Creek Fire, and now the Monroe Fire. And the Monroe Fire could get interesting. Deer Creek Fire is already really interesting. It's moved into Colorado, and so we're working closely with our federal partners on that, and they're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, Speaker. That was Speaker Mike Schultz joining us this morning on Inside Sources. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about a death row case in Texas and an interesting theory under which he was convicted. Stay with us.
You probably saved my life.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight and keep it off.
I mean, I was 30 pounds overweight, and I went in, and the doctor said, you need to change your diet.
Get help and get started with Soda Weight Loss.
Got off my blood pressure medicine and my cholesterol medicine, and that is amazing to me.
I went from a 16, 18 down to a size 4 now. So that is amazing. It makes you feel so good.
Splash into summer savings right now with Soda's lowest prices of the year.
No injections, no pills, no hunger.
I would recommend Soda because it's sustainable. This is lifetime change.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal.
We're the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and results. And with our incredible summer savings, what are you waiting for?
Get help, get results at SodaWeightLoss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
apart.
The Social Security Administration just announced they are now projected to run out of money 1 year earlier than expected. Benefits could be cut by as much as 23%, and the average person could lose more than $100,000 in lifetime income. This news could significantly change when you file for Social Security. Discover how you could get every penny out of your benefits with a free Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $300,000 and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. This free, customized analysis could help you get every penny out of Social Security. Call 801-896-9622. That number again, 801-896-9622.
Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
Hey there, it's Julie from Logan, where we know how to celebrate summer. First, something super cool when it's really hot. Logan has a new plaza downtown with music and games and a splash pad for kids. Well, I said kids, but hey, we don't judge. Jump in. Free Alive After 5 concerts and movies at the plaza Wednesday and Friday nights. Check out the calendar at explorelogan.com. Keep it cool by checking out live tribute concerts like The Monkees, Elton John's The Rocket Man Show, and the Neil Diamond Experience. If theater is more your style, see the musical Bright Star, Broadway's The Prince of Egypt, or the classic comedy The Importance of Being Earnest. After all, Logan is Utah's heart of the arts. Fresh mountain air is only 10 minutes from your hotel. Enjoy cooler temperatures in the canyon while you hike, mountain bike, picnic, fish, or sing yodelay-hee-hoo at the top of your lungs. Everything's cooler in Logan, and we've got a lot going on. Check out the calendar at explorelogan.com. explorelogan.com.
I am not a rich woman, but I feel like a rich woman every time I go in my closet. The best, hands down, present I've ever received was my husband secretly redid my closet with Closets by Design. So now when I go in there aren't all these shoes just junked on the floor. They're neatly sitting on their shelves. And my necklaces are hanging on their individual hooks, and earrings are in their little squares in this soft drawer that pulls out. It's just gorgeous. In fact, he saw how much I loved it. He had Closets by Design redo the garage. So now all the stuff, the tools, the toys, the junk is all in cabinets. When you open our garage door, you see cars. That's it. It's amazing. The things that Closets by Design can do, and it's going to save you money right now because you get up to 40% off plus an additional 15% off with 18-month financing. You can do so much with your closet, much more than you realize, with this wonderful Utah company, Closets by Design. Find out more at 1-800-BY-DESIGN or closetsbydesign.com.
Peak summer fun is here, and so are peak summer savings during the Utah Summer RV Sale, presented by Bish's RV. July 17th through the 19th at the Shops of Southtown, we're bringing you sizzling summer savings on new and used RVs. We're packing the parking lot with smoking deals for every budget. Shop new and used travel trailers, fifth wheels, toy haulers, motorhomes, and more. Like travel trailers starting under $119 per month on approved credit. 90 days of all play and no pay OAC. Plus trade up when you trade in your current RV. Get an additional $500 value added to your current travel trailer, or an additional $1,000 added to your current fifth wheel or Class C motorhome when you trade it in. You'll also get a Blackstone Adventure Ready grill with any RV purchase during the sale. And this is the only summer show to feature the entire lineup from Wayfinder RV, exclusively at Bish's. Don't miss your best chance for an epic second half of summer during the Utah Summer RV Sale. 3 days only, July 17th through the 19th at the Shops at Southtown. See you there. Based on approved credit, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock number 81734. Subject to prior sale. See the details. Deal number 426B.
Join Smith's Food and Drug for a job fair July 17th through 19th at Fat Cat's Bowling Alley in Bluffdale, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Apply at KrogerFamilyCareers.com.
And expanded Inside Sources.
We're watching some more breaking news here at KSL. An Idaho judge has lifted a sweeping gag order on the Brian Kohlberger quadruple murder case. A judge in Moscow, Idaho, just this morning had earlier issued a sweeping gag order in the case, but this morning he lifted that order, in part, Holly, because the order was put in place to give him a fair trial. He's now pled guilty. There was not going to be a trial. Right. The Associated Press said, "Can we lift it?" The judge has now lifted that.
Yeah, that's right. So just really briefly, what does that mean? What do you think will come out of this gag order?
Well, it means that the public officials, the prosecutors, the defense attorneys, and even some of the court personnel who are involved in the case can now talk to the media about it, even if it's just to give them updates and whatnot. This judge put a really, really strict gag order on it because someone had talked to one of the big 2020 or inside sources type of national organizations and had given a story, and the judge was furious. We never found out who did that, but the judge said, look, I have to preserve this trial.
And I think I read sealed documents will stay sealed in that case.
Right, yes, right.
Okay, we're going to transition to shaken baby syndrome. So such a pleasant topic. But look, there's a man in Texas. He's one of a few people who's been convicted in shaken baby cases, but he's the first one that we know of that has been put on death row, and he has a death warrant. His death warrant has been signed for October 16th. But his defense is saying the whole shaken baby thing isn't even legitimate and it's actually junk science.
Let's get an update from ABC's Jim Ryan.
The case has divided the family of Robert Robertson, with some relatives standing behind his claim that his 2-year-old daughter died not from being shaken, but from pneumonia. Others, though.
I think I've been in prison myself.
Matthew Bowman is half-brother to Nikki Curtis.
Yeah, I was 4 years old, but I still remember dressing up with my sister, still playing with her.
Despite calls for clemency from Democrats and Republicans in the Texas legislature, a judge has set October 16th as Robertson's execution date. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
So I have to say, Holly, I have prosecuted and defended shaken baby cases. The science behind that was always a little bit shaky. It was always something, that's a terrible word to use, but it was always a little questionable. And as a prosecutor, you're like, does the medical findings really support the physical question?
Evidence, yeah.
And from a defense attorney, you're saying the same thing. But so far, we prosecute cases. I've never been aware of a shaken baby case going to an execution, however.
Yeah, and this one is interesting and for a couple of reasons, but one of them is that this little girl who died, and it's tragic, she was 2 years old. She wasn't a newborn, but she was sick at the time, and she was diagnosed with pneumonia. And so there are some people who are saying, including Robert Robertson, his attorneys are saying that's what she died of. She didn't die of shaken baby syndrome. There weren't any neck injuries in the autopsy for this little girl when she passed away. There wasn't the bruising that you might expect right from something like that. And I'll say, I have to say, shaken baby syndrome, I think, is a real thing. However, it has also been called junk science, partially because of what you're saying. If you can't figure out something, sometimes you just lump them all together, right? And if you remember ever hearing about Munchausen by proxy, that is where women especially were being convicted of making their children sick or even having them die just so that they could be the rescuers, right? That has largely been disproven as something that's not actually real. And people went to jail over it and then found out, years later that there actually was a genetic mutation in those kids and they were legitimately sick. And I mean, so that's one of the things that's part of the question. One of the things that's really interesting about this case is in October, he was scheduled to be executed last October, so like a year ago. And Texas lawmakers, there was a bipartisan group of Texas lawmakers that were trying to get that execution at least stayed. They weren't able to do that through the normal process. So what they did was request that he join the legislature to testify in person on a date after the execution. And they were successful in basically getting the execution to hold off.
And did he? I mean, was that something that happened, and he was able to speak about what he had done?
He did, and he was able. Look, he has maintained his innocence. This man has been diagnosed with autism, which is, can be a disability. It depends on levels and all of those different things. But he has convinced, his attorneys at least have convinced enough people that this was not actually a death by shaken baby syndrome, and that he has an appeal pending, and they say that they have new evidence to prove his innocence, and yet the appeal is like the process would take longer than the execution would take. So
is the latest scientific and medical knowledge that shaken baby syndrome doesn't happen, or that it's just being overdiagnosed or overstated?
So look, there's an article that I'm looking at from ScienceNews.org. It's real. Shaken baby syndrome is real. It does happen. It's a form of child abuse. It can cause lifelong injuries, disabilities, death. It does happen. But yes, to your argument, the junk science component of it is that it is overused, and that if they feel like they want to put somebody in jail, this is the argument, then they can claim shaken baby syndrome and that they did this on purpose to deliberately injure this child.
Yeah, I've done these cases from both sides, and they're gut-wrenching. And the medical information and the medical findings that I've dealt with in those cases, both as a prosecutor and a defense attorney, is really, it's hard to understand, but it's also, if it's true and the shaken baby incident did occur, I mean, the effects can be really catastrophic because of the way that the brain fits within the canal, the cavity. I mean, it's just awful to see some of the effects of that. But I can also understand other things such as pneumonia, other things such as, a fall, encephalitis, anything that could also create a similar medical condition.
Yeah. So one of the things that that there's two sides to this, right? So there's a shaken baby syndrome alliance. I don't know their official name, and they're just they're horrified that people are pushing back on this diagnosis of shaken baby syndrome in this case, but in others. And they don't weigh in specifically on whether this was an accurate case or not. But there's also organizations like the Innocence Project. They're a nonprofit that works to overturn wrongful convictions. And that includes the list of misapplied forensic science. So things like bite mark comparisons, we don't really use those anymore, right? And so this is an area where they weighed in, and we had a conversation. I had a conversation with Amanda Dixon, went on her A Women's View show back in October talking about this case specifically. And there were three of us, including and then Amanda, so four of us total, talking about this case. And again, the issue is severalfold. First of all, should the state be involved in killing people? But that one aside, you have a man who says he did not shake his daughter. You have a prosecution that says, yes, you did, and Ken Paxton, the Attorney General, requested that the execution date be scheduled. But you also have people who say this shaken baby syndrome was overused. It was not an accurate diagnosis. The defense attorneys say they have evidence to say that there were doctors who disagreed with that diagnosis even at the time of the original trial, but they were just overlooked.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, and the reason I have never seen or thought of a shaken baby case as a death penalty eligible case is because we think of the death penalty as being a knowing and intentional act, where the shaken baby, certainly it's an intentional act, but it's not an intentional consequence. Right? It's not done with the intent to kill a child. That's the difference, and that's why I don't think we'll ever see a shaken baby case go to death penalty here in Utah, but who knows? Well, stay with us on KSL News Radio. We're streaming on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros. When we come back, we'll revisit an earlier conversation we had with Senator John Curtis on the rescission package and the Jeffrey Epstein files.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. Crews had to stop fighting the force of fire from the air yesterday after a drone flying over Pine Valley was seen in the no-fly zone. Fire Information Officer Kevin Abel says things like this grounds all air operations, but impacts everything.
If we have to do a medical evacuation of an injured firefighter off the mountain, we would not be able to fly those.
Abel says they were lucky enough to reroute the tankers and continue to fight the fires, but it's a good reminder if you fly, they can't. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A package that would result in massive funding cuts was approved by the Senate last night and is on its way back to the House for another vote.
This package codifies those so-called DOGE cuts to federal spending, and in particular looks at foreign aid that was slashed after the gutting of USAID and folding it into the State Department, and also about a $1 billion cut to public broadcasting that's going to impact both NPR and PBS.
That's ABC's Jay O'Brien reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 158 points, the S&P is up 27. And coming up, possible thunderstorms. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Jason.
And Kathy of Window World.
Mom, it almost happened again.
What almost happened, Jason?
A customer almost didn't choose us because he was shocked our prices were so low.
Oh, no. What did you tell him?
I told him I could charge him more if he wanted me to, or he could spend the savings on something awesome.
Oh, that's amazing. What did he say?
He decided to save thousands of dollars and get a whole house of amazing windows with Window World.
Call 281-8111.
Window World. Simply the best.
And as Doug always said,
that's no baloney. Hey, I'm Jake Harward. I'm a farmer, and Harward Farms green roadside stands are now open. Hey, who doesn't love fresh sweet corn in the summertime? With our extra warm weather this year, our locally grown non-GMO corn is growing faster and sweeter, along with our now in season watermelon, cantaloupe, peaches, tomatoes, raspberries, and more. Check harwardfarms.com for a list of our locations all over Utah and Salt Lake counties, as well as Mount Pleasant, Ephraim, Nephi, Delta, Tooele, and now open in Price. Fresh from our family's farm to your family's dinner table. Harward Farms.
This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep. But first, take time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. End the days of a poor night's sleep. With offices from Clearfield to St. George, Sound Sleep will help. Call Sound Sleep at 801-716-8672 today.
Ooh, ma. What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business calm at ooma.com/radio.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
In Utah County, we do have a crash in Payson, northbound on I-15 near the Main Street exit. It is out of traffic on the shoulder. Downtown drivers, we do have lanes blocked due to road crews northbound 4th West at 3rd North. Advanced Window Products offers Graber window coverings, high-end quality with the best warranty. Save 30% off when you mention KSL. AdvancedWindows.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 97 today with cloudy skies. There's chances we'll see a mountain thunderstorm today and an isolated storm tomorrow, likely in the afternoon. Right now it is 90 and partly cloudy. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit House Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
When we started the show this morning, we were lucky to have with us Utah Senator John Curtis, who talked about an early morning vote today. I guess it was around 2 or 3 o'clock this morning in Washington, D.C., on what we are calling a rescission package, a rescission bill that would claw back over $9 billion in foreign aid and public broadcasting spending. That bill was money that it dealt with money that had already been allocated, and you had to explain this to me. But the Senate at least the Senate has said, no, we're going to claw that back and take a second look at that.
Right. You know, one of the things that is interesting about this package is it's $9 billion, which sounds like a really lot of money to normal people like us, but it's in the federal scheme of things, it's actually not that big of a percentage.
Okay, this is 1/10 of 1% of our overall budget, and it's still a tiny fraction of our spending overseas. And it's just the beginning, I think, of a reevaluation of we can do things better. I think most Americans would want us to prioritize these dollars to life-saving causes. That's why the PEPFAR was pulled out. And, I think it's a good time to question, can we do better? Absolutely we can. I think everybody knows that.
On the one hand, we think about billions of dollars, but on the other hand, he said one-tenth of 1%.
That's right.
0.1%.
But you have to start somewhere, right? And that's one of the questions. So when you look at this $9 billion, about $8 billion of it was for foreign aid and about $1 billion was for public broadcasting. And one of the things that they pulled out was $400 million for PEPFAR, which is an international life-saving program to prevent HIV from turning into AIDS. And so that was pulled out. It's one of the reasons this bill is going to have to go back over to the House because they did make that big change. But I asked Senator Curtis if this pulling back on spending in foreign aid, if that impacts soft power, which is America's ability to influence other governments, other countries without military might.
We do a lot of great things overseas. And as I've traveled in the House of Representatives, I've seen some of these programs. But almost without exception, I've taken to a place and shown a program where we're helping people read better or we're helping, some noble cause. But we've been doing it in the same program for 20 years, and nobody has reevaluated it. And it's making almost no impact on that soft power that you're talking about. And I think what you're really seeing is not necessarily a pulling back, a commitment to soft power, but a realization that, every dollar we spend, we should think through and be more careful about. That's what we do in Utah, and I think we should be doing that overseas.
There does seem to have been a push, Holly, toward pulling back on what we're calling soft power. I mean, the whole U.S. aid department being cut back. And then you mentioned earlier that we put a stop to it as it relates to PEPFAR. Yeah. I mean, there's certain limits that they were going to take, but the Senate did say, look, and Curtis, I think, articulated it better than I am, this isn't really pulling back on this soft power, this ability to influence other nations and help other nations, but it's really sort of just thinking about how we're spending money.
It's always good, I think, to reevaluate how we spend our money, right? I mean, we've had a conversation even this week about subscriptions, I think. Maybe it was last week. I don't know. They all blur together. But where you just, even in your family budget, you're like, oh, I'm not paying attention. Well, if you're in the federal government and you start something, it can be great when you start and then still needs to be reevaluated. So I can understand that. I know also part of the cuts applied to public media, especially the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and people think like it's Sesame Street, and it's bigger than that, it's broader than that. And Dr. Dale Cressman, he's a professor emeritus at the School of Communication at BYU, and he spoke to Midday with Maria Chaleos about the potential effects on cuts to public media.
People depend on public broadcasting, whether it's for its primary mission of educational broadcasting or, say, providing broadcasting in the Spanish language or in Native American languages. It provides emergency readiness and public alerts. It serves markets that are not served by commercial broadcasters, and it will certainly lead to a service being negatively affected, but in some places it may even cause stations to shut down, leading to what we call news deserts.
Yeah, and I think that it's I'm a fan of NPR or PBS, and I think most people are, but there's also a notion that they've become a little bit more left-leaning and not as balanced as they should be. I mean, this whole idea of news desert, I don't know exactly what that means, but there are certain parts of the country, I guess, that you just won't have reception. You also won't have a radio station
or whatever, right? And so a desert in any context, whether it's a hunger desert or a healthcare desert or a news desert, it means you can't access information. You can't access the news. But Republican Senator John Kenney of Louisiana, he doesn't agree with that one.
No one's in a news desert anymore. So why are we spending money on public broadcasting?
I think what he's talking about is the internet, of course. That
Right.
It's hard to imagine that being in a news desert in this day and age, because we can access news from your cell phone, from your laptop.
But not everybody has access to all of those things, and not every area in the country is really well connected. So there's been Republican support, including from Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, and she did not vote for this bill overnight. She explained how PBS provides essential information to rural states, especially her state.
It's the emergency alerts that come. We just had a landslide a few months ago. It's the tsunami alerts. It is the aviation alerts when there is volcanic ash in the air. It is the flood alerts.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, I've heard some smaller stations in some of these smaller jurisdictional areas and parts of the country where you're thinking, man, the public relies on these small, publicly funded stations. Are they going to shut down? Are they going to go to some other level of funding? Because let's face it, the government puts a ton of money into those.
Even yesterday in Alaska, actually, they had a tsunami warning. They had an earthquake and they had a tsunami warning, and they used like these public stations to get that information out. Look, we're going to go back to Epstein because it has legs. So we actually did ask Senator Curtis what he thought about the Epstein files.
Well, at first he said, well, I can't hear you very well.
I know.
He was great. He was so funny.
Look, this is a perfect example of we get in trouble when we're not transparent. And I don't care if it's the Epstein files or when the mayor of Provo, right? Or does that make sense? Like any layer of government, when you're not transparent, people have the right to be grumpy. And I don't blame people for being grumpy, because it not only does it feel like there's something there that's not being shared, but comments like, I've got these files on my desk. And then we don't have them on our desk, right? I mean, like, no wonder the American people are suspicious and upset, and I think they have a total right to. And I think we should always push for transparency as deeply as we can.
So if you remember, we asked our listeners for texts, and we have some of them in just about 1 minute to read some of those responses.
But generally, 100% of them,
at
least, that were in favor of releasing the files. I mean, everyone is like, release,
that's right.
release. I mean, there were. I didn't see any that came through, and we received a number of them that said, go ahead and release the files.
One says, I haven't heard a single coherent reason for them not to be released. One says, of course they should be released, full transparency. Another one says, the real question people are asking is why his bank account is still open and who sent him $12 million after his death.
It's something I hadn't been aware of. And of course, there's so much more to this thing. And even Mike Lee said his supposed death. I forget how he worded it, but when
he didn't kill himself.
When he didn't kill himself in jail. Yeah. I think that's something that's going to be released at some point. But right now, our Attorney General Pam Bondi saying, not right now, we're not releasing that. When we come back on Inside Sources, it's National Emoji Day.
Yep.
You find these things, Holly, and I'm always stunned what you're able to find. We want you to send us your favorite emoji. Now, be nice, be careful.
And clean.
Be clean and nice. Text us your favorite emoji at 57500, and we'll tell you what ours are. Next.
Hey, I'm Joel Flaker from Dev Simplify. If you caught me this morning on Utah's Morning News with Andy and Amanda, thanks for listening. I talked a little bit about how we help businesses run smoother with custom software and automation. Here's the deal. If your team is wasting time on clunky software tools, jumping between 5 different apps, or just doing things the hard way, we can help fix that. At Dev Simplify, we build software that actually fits your business. Maybe you've got an idea for an app, or you just need to update old systems. Maybe you just want things to run more efficiently. Well, that's what we're here for. And right now, we're offering a free consultation, plus up to 5 hours of expert help to map out your idea and figure out exactly what your users need. It's a real plan you can use, and it won't cost you a thing. Just head to devsimplify.com to get started. That's devsimplify.com.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that. And third-party testing confirms it.
Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
All right, Takis fans. Wendy's knows you love your Takis Fuego chips, so we thought, why not make a Takis Fuego meal with a Takis Fuego chicken sandwich with spicy chicken topped with crushed Takis Fuego chips and creamy corn spread. Plus, it comes with Fuego fries inspired by Takis and a bag of Takis Fuego chips. If we had any more heat, we might start an actual... I told him this would happen. For an intense new take on Takis chips, gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Includes 1 ounce Takis Fuego chips while supplies last. Takis and Fuego trademarks are used under license.
Ever wonder what goes on behind the scenes of one of the longest running broadcasts in history? Discover the people, the stories, and the inspiration behind music and the spoken word in the brand new podcast, Behind the Scenes with Music and the Spoken Word. Join host Derek Porter for a heartfelt journey into the passion, preparation, and purpose behind this beloved weekly broadcast. Listen now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Behind the Scenes with Music and the Spoken Word. Inspiration you'll feel, stories you'll never forget.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Since 1971, Benson's Trophies and Plaques has been proudly providing Utah with personalized trophy and award designs. As a family-owned and operated business, they pride themselves on delivering exceptional customer service. Owner Craig Benson joins us with more.
At our family-owned shop, we've been helping Utah recognize excellence for years with personalized trophies and awards. Whether you're celebrating an athletic achievement, a corporate milestone, or a personal accomplishment, we've got you covered with custom high-quality designs. We specialize in engraving and offer a wide variety of awards to suit every need. Our showroom, conveniently located in Salt Lake City, allows you to see the quality of our work firsthand and explore different options. We take pride in exceptional customer service, ensuring that every award we create truly reflects the value of the person or event it's meant to honor. Our goal is to make your recognition moment as special as possible, whether it's for a team, an individual, or a company. Come visit our showroom at 1476 South Main Street in Salt Lake and check out the wide range of examples we offer our customers.
Using the latest engraving equipment and techniques, Benson's Trophies and Plaques continues to deliver reliable, high-quality products to Utah. Explore their wide range of services and custom solutions by visiting bensonstrophies.com today. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Sweaty, sticky, muggy, miserable. Utah heat can quickly start to make you feel like you're living in an oven. The air is hot and the concrete is even hotter. But this makes you feel a little better, doesn't it, Holly? That's the sound of air conditioning, which was invented on this day 123 years ago. And we've been enjoying it at our house. What about you?
Actually, not as much. So we have an air conditioner that has broken on the level where we sleep. And the day before yesterday, it was 95 degrees.
In your house?
In my house.
So how do you
in
even
my
sleep?
bedroom. I couldn't. I tried to go downstairs. I jumped in the shower and laid in front of a fan, and we're trying to have the issue fixed. And I think that this day should be a national holiday because because it was the day, I think it's Willis Carrier who actually invented air conditioning. You might recognize the name.
Appropriately
from,
enough, because
yeah.
you have Carrier Air Conditioning.
That's
It's one of
right,
the bigger
that's
companies.
right.
Yeah, so, I mean, air conditioning has I remember when it came out, you probably don't remember this, when there was a time when our automobiles did not have air conditioning.
Yeah, it was
and
called
so
a window.
We all traveled around the country with the windows rolled down, thinking that was great. Now, if you travel with the window down, you're like, why am I doing this? If it's 90
messes
degrees,
up your hair.
or if it's 90 degrees or warmer, the hot air doesn't exactly make you feel better.
Yeah. Look, we've asked people coming up. We're gonna pivot to Disneyland in just 1 second, but emojis. It's World Emoji Day, so send us your favorites. 57500. Okay, on this day in 1955, so 70 years ago, Disneyland opened. Do you want to guess what their admission price was on that day?
$20.
$1.
No way. How long ago?
It's $1 70 years ago.
Wow.
Remember, this was a wild concept. People were like, Walt Disney, like, you're out of your mind. Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to go. Now, like, I see some postings sometimes on social media where people saying, is $10,000 enough to budget for a 3-day trip? And I'm like, holy cow.
Maybe not. Yeah. I haven't been there for a long time, but it's a place I need to take the grandkids. I love Disneyland. I've never been to Disney World or any of the other.
Yeah.
I've just been to Disneyland, and it's always every time I go there, I wished I'd go there more.
So I have another little piece of trivia. So do you remember the Candy Bomber? Do you remember hearing him? Gail Halvorson. He was nicknamed a Candy Bomber because during World War II, he started doing candy drops.
Right,
in Berlin.
Right.
So it was July 17th, 1948, that he did his first candy drop. Yeah. So,
remind me why he did that.
Well, he was. They were part of the Berlin blockade, and there were people in the city. Right. They couldn't get anything in and out, and he saw these little kids, and so he had this idea to tie like hankies to candy bars,
slow them
and
down,
then just drop them. Yeah,
like parachutes.
Right? Yeah, exactly, parachutes. And just imagine in July, a candy bar is not going to last that long, right? But it was something just really amazing for these kids. And there's footage of planes. This was not his first drop. He ended up doing that over a period of time and became the Candy Bomber. But he would get together with his buddies, and they would tie all of these candy bars. He'd get these donations, and they'd make these passes, and the kids are running after the plane, trying to catch the candy. So he passed away recently. I'm thinking maybe last year, but he was like 103 or something. He lived a really, really good long time.
The Candy Bomber.
The
How
Candy
cool.
Bomber.
I mean,
yeah.
what a cool concept too. And I'll bet the kids, I could just imagine candy falling out of the sky, how excited a kid would be. Because if you go to parades, I mean, everybody...
That's the best part of parades.
Well, of course it is, even though it's just candy that you could buy at the store.
I know.
But you want to catch
Tastes
it.
better.
You want somebody to... You want to be able to get one that comes right at you and
That's
run
right.
out in the street and try to grab it.
Yeah, that's right. So, World Emoji Day. You had a question for me. What's an emoji?
Yeah. So I was thinking, I know I feel awful about this, but those Japanese films, they're called anime. So I was thinking, which is that an anime or is that an emoji? But you set me straight, and I have used emojis. I do once in a while, but I couldn't think of which was which. I know that's embarrassing, but I'm a different generation than you.
No, you're not actually. We're the same generation, but it's okay. So there's actually some double meanings on some of these emojis, and we have a little bit of sound on that.
One in a L, eyes, K, as in look over there. What?
If Charlotte tells me she's seen some hot guy, I'll maybe send the eyes when you're like, oh, tell me more.
Death. I use this one.
Do you?
when something's really funny.
Funny?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's not good. I sent that yesterday when I asked my crush out because she said no. And I just had a dead face.
So
their accent makes it even funnier.
We do have a texter who told us that $1 now would be $12 if only we could go to Disneyland for $12.
Even $12, right? That would mean a lot.
It's so crazy expensive. Okay. So some of our favorite emojis, the laughing emoji. There's one with a heart emoji where you've got hearts around the face. One that looks like a grandma emoji. Somebody's favorite is like the jazz hands one. Another one is the one with like the monocle, right? So it's like the really smart guy or asking a question. I use eye rolling emojis sometimes, but when I looked on my phone, the ones I use the most often are the ones with the heart eyeballs and the one with somebody crying, because people will send me sad stuff. Like my 10-year-old, she will say, "Mom, I'm crashing out," and I'll send her like a crying emoji, and then I'll find out it's because the dog was barking and she's tired.
Those are just too hard to look up. So I have my standard 3. People will send me something, and this is one with a dual meaning that I hadn't realized until you told me today. People will send me something, "Hey, let's meet Thursday at 4," and I'll just send the thumbs up, which to me means okay.
Right.
But it could, I guess it could have a double meaning to some people.
That is a generational thing, and I think it's thumbs up also, but we are learning from our younger generation producers that it's passive aggressive can be. It's like it can be sarcastic.
Yeah.
Another one with a double meaning is the prayer emoji. So the 2 hands together. I've always thought of that as a prayer emoji, but I did see that even the official emoji description can call it a high five. So imagine somebody says to you, "I just lost my grandma," and you send them the prayer emoji. You could be saying high five. Not really. I mean, I think we interpret
because the hands
it.
are together, right?
I know, but it's like the high
Sure,
five.
okay. Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah.
Another one I use, because I only have 3, is when my kids send me pictures of the grandkids, I always put a heart. The little "I love it,"
Yeah.
And what's the third one? Sometimes when I'll send somebody a text, and I want to make sure that they know that I'm joking, I'll put the wink, the person with the winking, so that they don't think I'm, because when you're an attorney, people take you a little more seriously than they probably should. So
sarcasm does not translate in emojis.
No, not very well. So I make sure that I put that little wink after it, so that they know that it's in jest.
I have a friend who actually texted me, and she said her 2 most common are a yacht and like a black clover, which I actually should ask her why.
A black 4-leaf clover? I wonder
no,
what
3.
it is. Oh, yeah, I don't know
like
what that
on a
means.
card, like on a playing card.
Maybe we don't want to know. The yacht, I'm taking off. I'm out of here. I've never seen that one.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, so those are some of our emojis. We also have we also have some comments just from earlier, right? That about our generational thing. So Gen Z can go down as young as 12 years old. My 10-year-old, they talk in emoji, right? So they don't write in sentences anymore. Now it's emojis, and you're supposed to read it. And I will tell you, I read one of my son's freshman college papers. He asked me for input. He was literally using emojis in his college paper. I'm like, you cannot do that, my dude.
So, Professor Holly, let me ask you this. Is an LOL an emoji, or is it just a response?
No, it's a text abbreviation, right, for laugh out loud. But I mean, sometimes the really funny things that if I really need a break from the news, I'll go online and I'll look for some of those where grandparents think it means like "love you a lot," and so they'll do LOL after somebody announces a death, and it really means that you're laughing.
That not funny. Yeah, interesting. So, great show today. Lots of fun, and really. Senator Curtis joining us was just huge. Earlier on Inside Sources, we broke the news that ICE will now be able to access sensitive Medicaid information. Well, Midday with Maria Shileos is up next, and she's going to dig into it even more with KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.